Hello everyone and welcome to the Lightbringers podcast, episode 53. Today we're going to be talking about many things. The summer expansion. Fractals. And now I can hear you because I muted you, but I can hear you. I hate you all. No, don't say that in the intro. Okay, everyone can hear you now. So don't say that anymore.
I didn't say anything.
Now Boots can be heard. Oh no, whoops.
We were behaving. I don't know what you're talking about, Jebro.
Yep.
We were behaving in the sense of Austin Powers. Oh, behave.
Chicken nuggets. Oh man, I'm really hungry. Oh my god.
Now I want
I still love myself, even though I look like a burnt chicken nugget.
Jebro started this by pulling out a pillow that is a dinosaur chicken nugget. So I just want everybody to know that Boots singing a chicken nugget song while Jebro tried to do the intro was really nobody's fault except for Jebro's.
Really got me this because I like chicken nuggets. And we got a chicken nugget emote in the chat if you want to use it. Very good. I have a Triceratops.
I think it's a wrench.
It looks like a dinosaur.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs. It's a team.
Oh, right.
I literally was saying. You're still playing, aren't you? You're still playing.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at you now. I can see the dinosaur.
You were playing.
Okay.
You were playing.
I guess Fornax was playing when you were describing what type of pillow it was.
Yes.
So that
Look,
there
that
will be some
That would be
grace.
the correct, yes.
You're all
Fornex had
the
important
worst.
world versus world business. And could not be bothered by this podcast nor any dinosaur-shaped food pillows that you possess. So.
That's right.
Very
Yeah, the
good.
legendaries must happen. Anyway,
It's helping
You
with
just
my
think the whole
stomach.
entire world revolves around you, Jebro, and your chicken nugget pillows, okay? Wow.
cradling it
Yeah.
like a child now.
Actually,
I'm
yes.
slightly concerned.
It's
Listen.
on my stomach where the hernia was. Like it's supportive.
Aw.
It's
Jebro had a surgery, so we have to be nice to him.
Today.
So
Ah,
everybody
fine.
Only
get it
today.
together.
Only today. Not the
Only
other.
today.
No,
Jebro, would you
Boots.
like to do?
No,
would you like
Boots.
to do your intro?
I
you like to do
kind
intro?
of just did it ish.
Oh, that was the intro?
It's the Lightbringers
Oh.
podcast, episode 53. We're going to be talking about lots of stuff. We also have an amazing guest called Rookery Boots, Fornax, aka the Fornax Herald, the Grand Herald. And
I'll take it.
It's
It's
been
fine.
like 2 weeks, so give me a break. I'm also on a lot of painkillers right now, which feel great. Like they are, woohoo! They're wild and awesome. Also, happy Pride, everyone. as
Happy
well,
Pride!
Please.
Y'all do any gay
Also.
stuff lately?
Always, every day of my life, Karoof. How about you?
No, I've been taking a break. No.
Oh, yeah.
Don't make
Pride
me
Month is your
laugh.
month off.
Yeah, it's my month off. I'll let everyone else do it.
You let everyone else do the gay things. Oh, thanks. You know what? Laughing's the worst with this, so I am
so sorry.
I can imagine, yeah.
I am screwed
know.
today.
This
I'm just-
podcast is not going to be great for your hernia.
It's well,
No.
the hernia is gone, but like
Well, the
it's
healing
the
recovery.
healing, my belly button.
And we see the scar.
Scar. Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, Scar Tour.
I might
so
show
this is
you
the
my
surgery scar.
subathon this weekend if we get enough
Hey,
tips.
there we go.
Okay. Yeah, offer it
You know
as
I
like
say
a little
that.
treat with the subathon, with the tipathon. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Tip of fun because you Twitch.
Just the tip.
We are going to be talking about lots of things. We have awesome guests. We're just going to do very short intros because we tend to enjoy our intros. Just do what you want. Kriff, tell us what you do, where you do it, just in case people do not know you by now.
Hi
After 100
everyone.
episodes or so of you being on the show.
I've been a little busy, so I've been a little absent from the social media, so I don't blame them if they don't know who I am or forgotten. It's very easy, but hi everyone, I'm Kroof. I do a lot of YouTube over on my YouTube channel, which is Kroof, about Guild Wars 2. And hopefully we'll have some more videos out very soon, especially with the recent updates coming out Tuesday. And I also stream here on Twitch every once in a while. I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4.
Yeah.
I'm still loving it. And yeah, thank you so much. You've been playing Diablo 4 too?
I've been playing too. You want to play together sometime, crew?
Oh my god, yes. No, I would love to. Fully.
Do it.
Fornex of the Crown Herald. What have you been up to? Tell us what you do, where you do it. Lovely.
Hey, I'm Fornax. I am the Crichton Herald or the Fornax Herald, whichever one fits. And I make content over on YouTube and occasionally I stream here on Twitch, although I have been slacking because I can't stream and raid lead at the same time, which is a bit of a problem. But yeah, please go and check out my latest 1v1 video on YouTube. talking about all the stuff that's all the gear. If you want to see all the new gear, it's in the video. And if you want to see what I want and the new maps I want, then it's in the video as well. So everything will be world.
Yes, all of everyone's links are going to be in the description below. And if you do want to support them by buying the previous expansions, please use their links as well, which helps them in their content creation ways. You've really got money, man. What the?
It's useful, I think.
That's amazing. I don't think I've seen that before. And also, we can know.
Oh, it's a Fornax emote. I was like, what are you laughing at? I look at chat. I'm like, chat's just being normal.
No, Fornax had like money coming out of their hands and like dollar bills. And then
Fornax,
they
do
did
the
the
other
other
one.
one. No, don't do.
Do the other one.
No. See?
But that's how she gets the money.
Well, have you moved your teacup? Because now I can see the top of your teacup as well. And now people aren't going to keep messaging me and DMing me asking what is the steam that's coming out from wherever from their name. Because no one knows. And they're like, that's a cup of tea. And they were like, we can't see the teacup. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. But I can't fit everything in.
Engine.
No, previously I was just very hot and bothered, but no, now it's a cup of tea. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just, yeah, you're so hot. You're just so hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So hot right now. Okay. The intro's going well. Rookery, tell us what you do and where you do it, please.
Hi, I'm Rook, aka Rookery. That's spelled ROOKURI. I stream here on Twitch at Rookery. I do a lot of MMORPG content, obviously, including Guild Wars 2 and Final Fantasy 14. Though I have been playing The Witcher. Oh my god.
It's a good game.
Final Fantasy
Witcher
16.
1, right?
Good too. Witcher's good too.
Oh, you're
No, I
playing
have been
16.
playing. No, I've been playing Diablo 4 in my spare time is what I was going to say, but my brain autofilled The Witcher for some reason. Can you tell it's been a busy month and I'm on my final brain cells that have been allocated to me? But yes, I do play. I know, right? I do a lot of MMORPGs. I stream over on Twitch. I do YouTube videos as well. I have a new one going up tonight with my 6.4 playthrough for Final Fantasy 14. That's also just at Rookery. And then you can find me on at Rookery_ over on Twitter. If I'm not playing games, using the wrong words for things, and generally goofing. We did do 16 this past week too, although I think most of my actual playthrough is going to be up on YouTube. We just played through the demo before it released. If I'm not doing stuff there and I'm not on YouTube, I'm probably doing a podcast here or over on Aetheryte Radio, which is the 14 podcast that I do, and or hosting or shoutcasting, which I've been doing a lot of recently. And tonight, I actually have my first ever TTRPG guest spot, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, it was Sunday. Oh, okay, that's tonight. Good.
Yeah, it's
Are
tonight.
you?
Nice.
So did you already make a character?
I did. My favorite thing too is that one of the creators, Liana, messaged, and in the initial pitch email, Liana said, "And yes, we will let you play a dragon if you want to."
Perfect.
So I am playing a river dragon,
Oh, that's
and I'm
cool.
very excited. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's a new system that some really wonderful people have been working on. It is like the team of creatives that have been working on it, heavily LGBTQIA+ as well.
Good.
And it's basically taking anime and making it tabletop. So I'm really excited about it, and that'll be tonight.
That's interesting.
Really cool.
That is very cool.
It's the-
How unique. That's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I'm
you're
excited.
basically you're Kunavine.
Kind of, yes, sort of, but very small. I made a very small dragon.
I saw you've got art for it as well, right? I saw that.
I do.
I saw the art for it. That's cool.
It's the Valor system. Reader Geek. I see Reader Geek asking about
Oh,
it
Reader
in
Geek's
chat.
gonna have to tell us because Reader Geek is actually babying me in the world of D&D right now because I have played one
Have you
game
never
for
played before?
half an hour. Well, we played for a couple of hours, but it wasn't. Well, Reader Geek, who is a mod and awesome friend, is teaching a few of us how to play. So I'm gonna start getting into it and.
That's great because,
very
by the
cool.
way, I think we had a conversation. I don't know if it was on stream or off stream.
Yeah.
I think it was off stream, and we decided it was. I think Fornex, me, and Crew were in agreement that we should. Rook, I want to say you were there too, but I don't remember. That we should do a D&D campaign together.
Yes!
The Guild Wars 2
Do, like,
themed Guild
one of the
Wars
dungeons
D&D
or
campaign.
something.
I mean,
Yes,
I would,
yes.
I would definitely be up for that. And maybe we could get, well, Reader Geek is his DM, so maybe they can do it for
That would be
us.
perfect. Yeah.
And we could do it.
Ooh. Outsourcing
I
talent.
need to learn. I need to learn how to play though first. I'm making a character, and they're pretty cool.
It's pretty. It's straightforward. It's not so hard to get into.
My
it.
ADHD brain has difficulties with such things.
I mean,
it wants to
honestly,
go everywhere. I'm like,
when you start rolling into something like a campaign, a lot of times, like some of the very first games I ever played, people just threw a book at me and they were like, "We're playing right now." And it's like literally as you just sit there, you go.
Like that.
You go, well, sometimes you just, the thing is that like when you start with D&D, like, while sure, you can like research a lot of stuff, you can also just jump in and like you can literally just say, I want to X, how do I do this? Like, how do I do this thing? And this is me describing what I would want to do. And then like a good group and a good DM will say, well, we'll roll for this, or why don't we do this thing that your class has? So
Yeah.
Wicked.
I will say, if we're going to do it online, we should use D&D Beyond because it has basically all the kind of roles built in. You click a button, it's very, very much easier for new players, and you can do it for free. You can have a free account. So anyway, are we talking about Guild Wars 2?
yeah, Guild Wars
Yes,
2.
we're gonna do. Well, first of all, we've got one more person to do an intro for, and that's
Oh,
Boots.
sorry.
Tell us about all the things, Boots. No, you're fine. And also, thank you for your lovely comments in the chat, Colaris. I love you too, mate.
I'm Boots. You could find me at World Avengers on YouTube. Or actually, gonna put the.
Fortex, do you have the?
You should get a
Boots
little piece of
logo?
paper and just put it there.
I'll work on it.
Thank you. Please put that up next time. You got to be prepared. And I've been making videos recently about the adventures, trying to get top 250 on all of them, and it's been going pretty well. I think I'm almost through all of Heart of Thorns, and I did the adventures of the festivals while they came up. Yeah.
I do like this
And-
festival.
And what else? Oh yeah, Killaris is in the chat. I embarrassed myself in front of him at PAX East
You always
several
talk
years
about
ago.
that. You always mention, because like, if you don't know who Colaris is like a legendary esports commentator who basically taught me a lot of what I know. Much respect, is still doing it today for PUBG, StarCraft, Legend. Yeah, Boots made a tit of himself by not knowing who he is. So then, like, and which is
I was
fine,
like-
by the way.
I met him and I was like, "So have you been doing this long? Are you?"
It was so funny. I was just sitting, I was just standing there like, I was like, you need to get that bell, we need to say shame, like, we need to do all the things. Like, it was good times. But like, you didn't know because you weren't in the scene. Like, content creation is a thing. People have millions and millions of followers and they'll just walk around and just be like, who the hell is this person? Because a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I feel like I would rather have somebody just really genuinely approach and say like, what do you do? And I'm curious to hear about like what you're into,
absolutely.
versus like have them be acting really weird or really artificial because
To be
they know
fair,
who
I
you
was
You don't want people
probably
to
also
fanboy
acting
on
really
you,
weird.
Mercury? What?
Oh.
Yeah, I did have the weird. So that at that PAX East, I had the weirdest experience though. When I went to some random like. I think it was like a magic card booth or something like that.
Yeah.
And I went to it. And I was like looking at their stuff, and the guy manning the booth said, "Hey, you're World Avengers, right?"
Really?
And I'm like,
Oh,
and I was
nice.
like, "What?"
Yeah,
Because I
that's
think
so
I only
cool.
had. I think I only had one video with my face at that point, and it was like that Ice Bucket Challenge thing back in the day, and so I was very confused as to why this person knew who I was.
Yeah,
But that was cool.
legend.
That is awesome. Okay, also, I need to plug very quickly this show, the Lightbringers podcast. If you do an exclamation mark podcast in the chat, also do anchor.fm/JebroUni, although it's changed to Spotify podcast because it is owned by them now. So you can check this out on Spotify as well. If you go on Spotify, search for the Lightbringers, you will find the Guild Wars 2 podcast and you'll find our cheeky little kind of logo and all that kind of stuff as well. We've hit a lot of listens, actually. It's been the podcast is 60k plus now we're on, so it's really good. So thank you for continuing to listen. Also, if you are able to review or star rates in different places like iTunes and everything else, chuck a review. You can be as honest as you want, just as long as you give us 5 stars out of 5. That's fine. Otherwise it's fine. We're going to be talking about a few things today. Thank you for the hype train in chat as well for the resubs and everything. Let's talk about.
You forgot to say
things.
that sometime during this thing we're going to be giving out a gem code.
We are doing that. Okay. Yes. We'll also do a gem give code giveaway. Wow, Kalaris, you ridiculous person. Thank you very much. It was very kind of you. You legend. Okay, I'm not going to get derailed too much because this is not. Everyone's not going to be watching this live. Basically, someone just gifted subs in the chat, and that's very kind. New Fractal, June the 27th.
Yes.
We are going to be playing in the next show as long as everyone wants to. That's probably something we can do next week if people are here and they want to join. I'm going to show you the trailer first, and we'll have some initial reactions to that. Yeah, I'm just going to do that first. We'll do that, and then we'll talk. Okay, all right, sound good?
Sure.
Hopefully the audio comes on.
I'm going to look at it too.
Sure.
It looks cool.
It does look cool. I mean, there's not a lot in there, obviously, but like,
No,
you know.
you don't even. I don't think you see one bad guy. I guess you don't see the boss. I'm guessing. I assume that the one Naga that we saw is not the boss, but it might be.
No idea.
I would assume they're just like trash mobs down there or something, or that they're like mini boss kind of thing, or yeah.
So does someone want to give us a quick, because we do get new players listening to this a lot as well, and I just wonder if someone wants to give a quick explanation of what a fractal is in Guild Wars 2. Anyone want to take that one on?
A fractal is a high-level endgame dungeon system where you have a collection of dungeons, but you have multiple tiers. So you'll go through the same dungeons, but as you progress from tier 1 to tier 4, it'll get more difficult, and there will be added instabilities or conditions to make it more spicy and dynamic.
Yeah. And also you need ascended armor at least in order to get to the higher tiers, because you need infusions in order to do so.
So you infuse your gear for protection against a stacking debuff as you keep going through the level tiers, right? Up from 1 to 100, yeah? Okay.
The original base entry level to go in and do fractals is really not that much more difficult than if you're used to dungeon content in any other MMORPG, just like baseline normal dungeon content. So don't be scared away from them. They're really great, and there's a lot of great rewards. But as you progress higher up, kind of equivalent to the Mythic Plus system in World of Warcraft, although this system actually predates that system, which is really interesting, and people don't oftentimes realize that. But as you scale your way up, you can do more challenges, and that's when you start needing things like the Ascended gear, so that you can put in a specific kind of buff that helps you counteract some of the stacking damage that applies at those higher levels.
Like the first tier, you don't need any of that, so you don't even need Ascended gear. I think, to give you an example, for legendary armor, you need to do a couple or a few fractals for one of the collections. And I think I didn't want to be bothered to make groups, so I just did the fractals solo. And so it's doable. So the lowest level fractals you could even do solo if you want to. But the highest level fractals with the challenge motes, the CMs, no, you can't. Yeah.
If anyone thinks I'm being rude to anyone on the channel, on the podcast right now, I'm not. It's Kalaris just gifted a bunch more subs, so thank you. I'm going to say thank you. That's helpful. It helps me. Okay, great explanation. Thank you, everyone. I really want to make sure I do better to try and convey some of these things, because I do get questions sometimes from people and they're like, oh yeah, what is that? Because I don't know, and I'm new to the game, and it's like really awesome to know that there's still a bunch of new people playing this game. There really is. It's really, really awesome. And I'm always seeing folks running around. I just run around in early zones anyway, just because I like it, because I like the music and just the nostalgia. Okay, so in terms of Fractal, just reactions off the trailer. Yeah, it looks fun, right? It looks cool. It's in the present well, something that's interesting is that we don't often see fractals, are based around where we are right now in like the story, right? Like that's something that is different. Do you want to say a bit more about that, Boops, or you just kind of agree?
I do, because I it was one of those things that I like talking about, actually, that the story in Fractals is usually well, either in the past or in the future, because they're allowed to do that. That's what the Fractals
or made up.
Yeah. But what do you mean, or made up?
Just like possible things, right? They're not all like happened, right?
I think they might be all things that exist in the future or the past.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
anticipated future, maybe.
No, I agree with Jeb. It's
this
possible outcomes. It's like the multiverse, right?
What
the possible consequences.
Well, I guess the Arc series might, like, I'm trying to think of an example of something that's possible to happen, but not necessarily.
Do we know much about like this? Go on.
It's really just like a shotgun method of like some of the fractals will be a bit more close to what we're experiencing in the actual narrative. Some of them will be more divergent and will be their own thing. It really is kind of just like a scattershot of whatever they want to really put out and tell the story of.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, because if you are doing the fractals of something in the past and your party wipes and then quits, then technically that's not what actually happened in the past.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. Well, like
True.
it is there, and there is because there's some of the Aether Blade stuff in there, right? That happens, like that's something that does happen. So you're right, I like the multiverse kind of idea of Guild Wars 2. That's cool.
That's a good point, because we do know canonically that there are multiple timelines within the Mists because of some of the recent Aether Blade stuff, right? Where they go around two different hypothetical timelines and things and kill versions of themselves and continue. So
now hold on a second, though. I have a question about that one. So they've gone back to previous versions themselves and attacked it in order to get resources. Now, when they go back a second time, do they go back to the original version of itself, or like should it happen that they keep on stacking and killing like more and more versions of themselves because they keep on?
I mean, I think that's a huge rabbit hole that we could spend the entire podcast theorizing about. But
it's weird that you're trying to derail a podcast. I feel like that's something you don't do often.
Something's going on with your cameras, by the way.
Yeah, there will be. There will be. I'm just switching over to. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's me. It's Discord, a weird issue.
I was just going to say that I do think it's interesting this is tied so closely to sort of what's been happening and where we've been with Gyala Delve. There have been debates and discussion already in the community about whether or not this is a glimpse of the past, given the color of the jade before it was deeply infused by dragon magic and everything else, or if it is set somewhere within our current timeline. I don't personally get the feeling that it's like the future, but we don't really know because, I mean, honestly, that little tidbit did not give us a ton of stuff. So either way, I think one thing we have mentioned a lot with fractals is the fact that just like we saw with strike missions, rolling them into story or story adjacent helps, I think, give it some more context. It helps give them more time as well to develop the themes, the ideas, the memorable villains, characters, encounters, adventures that you're having. And I think some people will have maybe mixed feelings about that if this hugs really closely to the story, because they like that there's kind of the whole alternate, quest and world building around a lot of the fractals that we have now. But I personally think it's a really nice thing, especially since we're transitioning to this new expansion. And we had a relatively short wrap up here for Cantha and End of Dragons with the What Lies series, What Lies Within, What Lies Beneath. So to have something that expands a bit more on connecting the dots, I hope it does. I hope that it gives us some more context about the demonic forces and other things down below in the Jade, wherever it's placed in the timeline.
I mean,
I hope so too.
actually, that's a good point. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say I think it is in the past because it looks like they've got like grapple guns, and then they have those zip lines afterwards, but the zip lines don't appear to be Dragon Jade zip lines.
No,
so I think
true.
it's probably in the past before the Dragon Jade sort of got invented.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to. But the thing is, yeah, I guess there's some of that armor and stuff, but there is a Norn there. So don't forget, like it's how it wouldn't be that far
That's
in the
true.
past.
And
And
I
it's a
wonder, and I wonder if this is going to be a fractal where the player character transforms into a narrative character in the way that the
Interesting.
Palawa Joko fractal had you turn into Alonian soldiers.
Yeah.
Or if it's just going to be like the other more normal types of fractals where your character just enters an echo of the mist, which I kind of prefer because you get to see your character, you get to see the outfits that you've constructed. Every once in a while they're fun because they just feel a little bit different. But
Kind of like when you're all Asuras in that one fractal.
yeah,
And you're
I
all
hate
Char. So cool. And
Yeah.
you're like, I never play Char as a like engineer, and you're just like, oh wow, I'm kind of naked.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like
I,
it.
I do agree with Rook in terms of it's very interesting having End of Dragons. It kind of opens with the Sunqua Peak fractal in a weird way because we got that about a year before End of Dragons,
Yes.
and it was like the last bit of endgame content that we got, which was a glimpse
Actually,
into
it
End
was
of Dragons
almost
assets.
2 years, wasn't it? It was 2020 we got the Sunqua Peak, September.
Yeah,
So that is the last time we had a fractal, and I want to have that conversation as well, unless anyone wants to kind of remark. I was going to say, I've got it up on the show right now so people can see it. There's a ton of mushrooms. So is it going to be one of those fractals where we see people going from like, you know, different spaces and then using one of these to maybe go to another space as well? Because there's a few fractals like that. I wonder about that possibility. But it's also very light in there, isn't it? It's like they're very colourful, and I kind of like the biome of it. Like it's not really just dark. It feels like it's not down that low. It feels like it's like the middle. Like there's something else that exists kind of between the higher level and what lies beneath. Maybe, I don't know. I just had that thought, just a random thought. Looks cool though.
I will say, so yeah, I think it's interesting that the newest two fractals have actually kind of been like almost like a preview of what's to come. So Sung Kuei was it's not necessarily linked to the story, but it is tangential because we were introduced to the culture and some of the architecture. And I feel like the next expansion, this could be a hint at some sort of progression forwards, or at least directionality of the next expansion. I will say also for the jumping mushrooms, there was a lot of people who weren't very happy about some of the dialogue options, especially like tier 4 runners who just want to get through everything as fast as possible, which I'm just learning now because I've just started doing tier 4s. And people were very unhappy. I liked the dialogue in Sunquay. I liked the use of and beautiful mounts that you can buy on the gem store that are actually characters in the game, like we see on the oh my god, too many End of Dragon's End map for the Shrine Guardian, and you see that again in Sunquay. So I mean, maybe we'll get a mount linked into this, a special mount from this. But I think personally that the mushroom jumpy things, I think that's for speed. Endgame players want to get through these things as fast as they possibly can, and they literally said, we're going to make sure that the pacing is correct so that the story doesn't interfere with people running the dungeon. So
I think
my
probably
thoughts.
a bout of speed, but also probably some mechanical use for some encounters, because they do focus a lot on those mushrooms. And then in a brief glimpse, like the 2 frames that we got on what I assume to be the encounters, there were like some jade structures with like air, like an updraft flowing out of it. So there could be a sense of verticality within the actual mechanics of fighting the bosses, which could be interesting.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Instead of it just being flat. And you
Yeah.
gotta go
What
to different platforms.
Oh, go ahead, Rook.
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, a lot of our theme in the recent, patches that we've had is the going down to the depths, emerging back to the surface, right? So it could be very much that they're playing with that kind of sense again, that there are levels as you go deeper or higher within the Jade that create, our arenas or the journey or the descent or whatever they're doing through the waves down below to try and see what's in there. It's also a nice way, I think, just to keep things relevant in regards to masteries that you have and, that kind of content where they are always very careful, I think, even with their mounts, to make sure that they are still periodically using things that are relevant, like if those air currents allow you to do gliding stuff, if there's anything, right, like your mushroom masteries and things like that. It's something where I think that it could also be a bit of a nod to that, to integrating some of those systems. In the past, we've even seen some of that verticality used to even hide away things, right? So if you're not speedrunning it, but you're looking for the achievement collection of all the journal notes or the audio logs or the whatever, there could be nooks and crannies that kind of opens up for you too. But I like your idea, Kroof, of them being used in the fight somehow, where you have to maybe get up, down, or off the floor, or get back in, or come in from an angle like higher up. I think that would be cool.
Do you think they're necessary, the jumping mushrooms? Because I think you probably only need End of Dragons to get this fractal, or do you also need Heart of Thorns to get this fractal?
With most fractals, depending on the mechanics, it usually is separated from the mastery, because they probably won't be like, you have to purchase this. But I think it's at least nice to reutilize the different gameplay systems that they do have across all masteries. Like Heart of Thorns in particular didn't have mounts, but they did toy around with quite a few traversal mechanics like New Hawk Wallows, mushrooms, grappling hooks with Draconis Mons. So, you know, it's nice whenever they pop back up, and especially the mushrooms, and seeing like the asset of like just a recolored mushroom.
Good question.
It's a little thing where like, Heart of Thorns.
It is a good question. We didn't actually cover that. Yeah, Fractals are a core game, so they should be, but no, they've not said that you won't, because that is an interesting question. Because the expansions are being released, their cadence is changing, and we're going to be going on to this very shortly. So this might be the link over to that I would like to have, although maybe not actually. But anyway, think about this in your heads. I don't know why I'm doing that instead of clapping.
Can I say really quickly, because you mentioned that it's been almost 3 years since we had Sunclaw
that's
Peak.
what I wanted to talk about. That's
And
before we go.
Perfect. Sunquaw I thought was great because, just like Fornex was saying, it does give you a bit of an introduction into the setting, the world, the places we were going to be going. And I can't actually remember, had they had confirmed Cantha when they released Sunquaw, right? I'm pretty sure they had.
That's what I wanted to ask too. Yeah.
2020 had they?
Yeah, I think
it was
he's given
August.
us.
Was it August?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
They announced Cantha early 2020 before the pandemic, and they showed the concept art.
No, it was during the pandemic.
No, it was January or February. It was January.
Well, that was during the pandemic.
Pandemic started March for everyone.
No, because Ruby was
officially.
Ruby was in their office at home doing the show.
No, like the first post of them confirming expansion
that blog post with the picture.
With the picture.
So they announced.
It was a New Year's thing. It was like
it was January. It was like early 2020.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The timelines.
I remember because they wouldn't promote my work because they hadn't confirmed where it was, and I did two videos about Cantha, and I was like, God damn it. Sorry, carry on.
No, I mean, they had confirmed, so we did know, and we got a little bit of a glimpse of it. I really was wondering if they were going to tie that in with the characters or things that we saw there to any of the characters we would be meeting or experiencing in End of Dragons itself. And thus far, it doesn't seem like it. Now, with this one, we don't know, right? Is it just going to be kind of a supplementary thing, given its location and everything else? It seems like it's going to be relevant to the trajectory of the story, bridging that gap from where we were to where we're going. But I was surprised at 3 years, because it really hasn't felt like 3 years since the last one was released. And yet, simultaneously, I think it just goes to show how much I hope that, especially with the new expansion format, they are able to release instance PvE content like this more frequently. Because we have gotten a slew of strike missions. We've gotten a lot of content, open world content, all kinds of stuff, right? But if we're not getting raids, and we are going to be getting more fractals moving forward, I really hope we see these at least once, if not more, a year.
I have another question, actually, that ties into this.
Is this the point that they're making, or are you going off on a tangent?
No, it's no tangent.
Okay.
So they said, it was 2 strikes, 1 fractal per expansion?
No,
Yes.
well, strike hard mode, right? CM.
For the new format, yeah.
With the new 2 strikes, 1 fractal.
About a year, every year or so, 2 strikes. A fractal.
We are going to go through that as well as a reminder.
So, and we're getting 1 fractal now. Currently, so tiers of fractals are separated into 25 different fractals each. Currently, looking on the wiki, it looks like there's 21 unique fractals. So that means there's room for 4 more unique fractals. So if we're getting a fractal now, there will be 3 more.
You mean to fit in the 100 levels? Or do you,
no, for the 25.
The 25 tiers.
There's a 25 bracket within like 25, 25, 25, 25.
Yeah. That means if they're going about that cadence, we're running out of room for fractals in 3 expansions. 3 years.
Question though.
I don't think they're gonna run out of fractals. I think
they'll run out of room for fractals. They'll have to
They'll restructure
format.
They're gonna I think they're gonna get rid of infusions.
I hope so.
I hope so as well. That's why I'm saying it.
My goals back then.
I think they're going to get rid of agony, and just make them more hard. Make them harder. Well, I mean, it depends. They could change what the agony mechanic is, or just get rid of infusions, because infusions for fractals are silly, and they are a barrier for access. In my opinion.
To explain to everybody what we were talking about earlier, if you're new or you haven't done fractals, when we were referring to you need ascended gear for higher levels. Basically what it is that as you get to higher levels of these, like the higher difficulty versions of the fractals that exist, you scale them up, you get more rewards, there's higher challenge, right? At those higher levels, you reach a threshold where they start putting this thing called agony in, which is basically like a persistent scaling damage that you take the higher up you go, where like you are just while you are in the fractal being hurt for being in the high level fractal. So with ascended gear, you need to infuse agony resistance to your gear. So at certain levels, you need more of that on your gear to be able to counterbalance that like increasing ongoing damage that's happening.
Yeah, and I know people will say like kind of it's a way to progress, but I don't think it's a good way to progress in the game, just in my opinion, and that's not necessarily wrong or anything, but it's like it just is more of a barrier because people just they don't want to learn about it because it's just it's really intricate and just annoying. Every single time I've engaged in that system, I've just been like, oh man, I just can't be asked. I just can't. I've got loads going on. Guild Wars is a casual game. Like it's the casual when you can play any game, as much as you want to play.
I mean, there's so many different game modes, and you could experience the content from fractals without having to go 100 fractals deep into it. So
depends what you're going to get, right? That's true. That's it. So you could still experience the content and not have to go hard into it. So you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So I don't think they have to remove infusions because I don't think they need to make it all available, like the tier 100 fractals. I don't think they have to make that available to people who don't want to get infusions.
Now hear me out. What if they bundled that agony resistance into the process of working your way up the rankings of fractals? So
I think so, yeah.
You complete your highest tier of difficulty that you've completed thus far, and it like automatically either just passively applies that to you.
That's fine, because it is kind of arbitrary. It is kind of arbitrary making you have to have ascended gear and also just monetarily buy infusions, essentially. Mm-hmm. So as long as there's still that system where you could only do a certain level fractal if you've done the previous fractal.
Still progressive, right? Just put more rewards in that mode, which make it more worth doing. A glider skin, a mount skin, all of these other things, and reward systems in their modes, which entice people to go in and complete them. There's the helm and the throne in raids. This is one system that we've talked about before where they really need to just give better rewards so people farm stuff more, for that reason rather than an infusion.
They could have a reward. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Oh, no, you can go.
Thank you. So, Jesus Christ.
No fight.
They could have no fight. I bite. Be warned.
No fight. I bite. I like that. That's cheating.
They could have a reward track system whereby when you have at the moment there's 4 tiers and you have to like complete them all, and your fractal number goes up, and so they could have like reward tiers so that when you get to the end of that, they gift you a set of armor that allows you to progress into the next one. And then once you've completed that with certain achievements, they like to do their collection reward things. They could make it fun, send people out into the world for doing a bit of exploration into the lore. And then there is actually an incentive for people to actually go, because you get your ascended armor and your infusions at the end of it when you get to your CM100 track, you know? That's my thoughts anyway. I would say, do you guys know where it all comes from, where the idea of agony resist comes from and where they got it from and why they have
go
it?
for it if you know.
Like the realm of torment, I imagine.
It was in the original game when we had to face the Masat do agony.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do.
And you had to go to the seer to go and get an
ascended.
infusion. Yes, exactly. You
So
get
there is
closer
like
to the
that link
stars.
there. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
but you
that.
have to literally go to like this old seer type person who is one of the original inhabitants who blesses your armor, and it's a really cool quest line in the original game. But I
remember trying
so
to
you
do it
guys
without the infusion, without the being ascended.
Of course
It was
you
not
did.
easy. It was not.
Of
Well, I
course you
mean,
did.
I don't think I read a lot of the text of the
Of
story
course you
back
did.
in Guild Wars 1. So I was just like, I'm supposed to be doing this, but it's not letting. What's going on? This is really difficult. This
That's
is
really unusual for
really
MMORPG players to not read the story. Weird.
I read all the story. I
I know
read
you do.
everything. I
Speaking
love
of
all the
story,
text.
You play Final Fantasy
This-
14. You have
this-
to. That's the content.
I
This
grew up
fractal story. Speaking of story, this fractal story is the first fractal story written as the lead writer of by Kent Benson.
Yes.
Oh, is it?
I did see that on Twitter. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
true. That's cool. Congrats to Ken.
Congrats to
Yes,
Kent.
congrats.
Awesome person.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am excited for this one. I mean, I think that also kind of nicely transitions us to talking a little bit about how they discussed this fractal as well. So we have already referenced it a few times, but there was a blog post where they discussed, the future of fractals in a sense, where we had them touch at least a bit on some of the feedback that they had taken from Sunqua and what players were looking for. And we've talked about it a little bit, but I think the balance between story as well as farmability, replayability, and expediency of, going straight to the action. I personally loved Sunqua, but it does have a lot of little RP breaks. In any community, in any game, we even see this in, any kind of speed competition or anything for Dungeons or Mythic Plus or whatever it is in other MMOs. People will always get frustrated if there are kind of mandatory stalls. If you have to run something over and over, and every time you can't skip this bit of dialogue, or having to wait for the character to walk across the map and unlock a thing and do it, right? It's something that slows the process down. So they did say with this one that there will still be story. The story is something that you can absolutely engage with, and that will be there in context, but that they wanted to focus a lot on the actual flow of the action and gameplay. And I guess I'm curious, for all of you, if you have thoughts on what that will mean for, like, are there, points of action in various fractals before this that you have felt like this was a really good example of what I hope it'll be like? Or do you think it's mostly just going to be that they've cut back a lot on those mandatory moments?
I think it harkens back to Guild Wars' core game, when you had a lot of cutscenes that were two people talking to each other, and then after a core game was done, they transitioned to physical. In the physical world, characters were talking to each other, but the drawback of that was you no longer had the skip button.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So I have a feeling that it's gonna be you're gonna have our newer version of storytelling in which it's more immersive, more
Pacing,
in the
right?
game.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll have a skip button.
ESO does it really well. They do when you go into spaces, they have like a different space, which is almost so you can't access it. So when you're running through, you can hear and see what's going off in the distance, for example. Or there'll be a gate, a long gate that you can't get through, and you'll just see the enemies kind of conversing and talking, or you see something going on, like something being created or destroyed or whatever. So it's actually happening as you're fighting and moving through. So the pace of the dungeon and the gameplay doesn't alter. And what they do is they tell a story that way, or you're someone's talking to you as you go through and they're reacting like your companions or whatever. So they do it in the way, and actually Guild Wars 2 started to do that. I think from the latest season before End of Dragons, they started to do that more in the instance content rather than stopping all the time thinking about, when the sniper kill on what's his name in the cave was kind of interesting way of doing that. Okay, let's push on. Actually, really surprised that we got to chat that much about fractals. At first, I was like, is this going to be a side point? Oh, actually, I don't know how we're going to go into
give
this.
us any topic,
That's
we'll
true.
talk about it for longer
That's
than
true.
we
That's
have to.
actually, can I just ask,
Absolutely.
just hang us on this topic for one more second?
Sure.
Who do you think is going to be the big bad of the fractal? Who do you think is going to be the
interesting.
end boss?
Well, who do you think is going to be?
I'm hoping for Abaddon.
Because
Oh, really?
we're missing the Abaddon fractal from back when we did the vote with Alan Keel and
Still guys about that.
I mean,
it's possible, but it's weird. I don't think they would have done a fractal in the Jade Sea for Abaddon back in the day. It's not a carryover. I don't think it would be new, right?
So, no, yeah, it would be a new thing because these are all allies of Abaddon. These are kind of the underlying forces that were trying to assist him to regain his power after he was basically usurped in a similar kind of capacity to Balthazar. And we saw that Balthazar, even I don't know how to put this, depowered, that's
Dethroned.
made impotent, he was still there. He still had some innate power. And I know that they say, oh well, Kumia took all his power, but yeah, I feel because they've got the 6 eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the 6 eyes of Abaddon. All these creatures that we're seeing, they're interacting with. They have this, and I think he's an amazing character. He's a very interesting, deep character. He's a Prometheus type character, although he has a darker side. And I think he would make an interesting protagonist. Of course, there's Menzies as well. But I would certainly really enjoyed our interactions with Balthazar. There was a Twitter post saying, what did you love most about the story? Any of the story. And a lot of people put what happened with Aurene because it was so emotive. But I really liked how very annoyed I was with Balthazar as he played with us before he killed us. It was like he was like a cat playing with its dinner. Yeah.
I think Abaddon... Okay, sorry, you continue before I
No,
butt
but
in.
I liked the dynamic that we were completely outmatched and he knew it. And I like that moment of humility that we don't get a lot because we're always super shiny, spanky pants and we go around and we just murder everything. And I like the fact that he stopped us in our tracks and slapped us about. Spanky pants, yes, I did.
yes.
Excellent.
Words and things.
You just spank their pants when they're off, the pants themselves.
I think
Let's just pretend that I didn't say it.
I need to know now. I'm just confused. You can tell me later.
I like your idea, but I think Abaddon is too high level for a fractal.
Well, I was going to ask
Fractal.
that actually. I was going to say, are they still in that area where do they deserve their own expansion? But also
the 6 eyes thing, basically all of their descendants, yes, the demons that we see these days are 6 eyes, but all Marganites had 6 eyes.
Marganites are what are they? Can you explain?
They're the followers basically of Abaddon, and actually Fornax could explain this way better than I could.
Yeah, they were exactly as he said. They were his followers. They were ocean dwellers as well. And when the desert was made, when they stripped him of his power, he took them into his realm. I made a huge lore video about it. He's a fascinating character.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, maybe we won't get the full reveal, but maybe we'll get a bit of
what's your video called?
A little bit teaser. Oh my god. It's probably Abaddon.
Get it,
Spanky Pants. Yeah.
Spanky Pants, the video. Yeah.
So
I
think Abaddon's a little bit too high level. I think maybe something a little lower, but in the same realm as Abaddon.
They could use it as a reveal-ish moment, right? Where we get something that seems to more definitively indicate Abaddon, where even if it is a Marganite or it's some kind of other follower, I mean, with the deep sea themes, with the demonic themes, Abaddon is a great cross section for that. And, you know, we've heard for ages, we've heard Abaddon tossed around as we started to get these reveals. We've recently heard Menzies as well, who was Balthazar's brother. And I mean, I think it's very possible that both could be involved in whatever is ahead if they want to focus some kind of story on demons, or if they want to also tie in the request that much of the community has had for more of the human gods, right? Having this kind of a human god or a banished god crawls up from the depths to try and reclaim something that could give us a great sort of bridge of the gap between both these demonic forces, these other elements in the world and themes that we've been having, as well as you know, bringing in some of that human god element where we learn more about how exactly their deification works and how that power and energy that they inherit or consume works, and how this gap in the pantheon has affected things with Balthazar's death and what the gods are doing now that the dragon issue has been resolved, right? So there's a lot they could explore there, and I feel like they could use this dungeon to herald that. I've heard people say that if they think it's set in the past, we might finally actually see Conexai, because I know you were also thinking about that early on, Fornax, that's an entity we know that's demonically affiliated down below. But I kind of hope that they use it to give us a little something, whether that's a peek at Abaddon or it's, you know, something that's giving us some momentum into the new expansion.
I just thought of something interesting. The 6 eyes thing. I think it's starting to tie together a little bit well, actually.
Sure.
So 6 eyes have all the demons. The void, I feel, is very related to demons these days, right? And the void is a conglomeration of all the magics, basically, and because of that, it starts to turn bad.
Isn't it everything and nothing as well, or something?
Yeah, sure.
So I kind of think that. I don't know.
I think it's from the Greek gods. I think it's from their idea that everything spawned from chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking 6 eyes, 6 gods, 6 dragons. The demons are spawned, and the void is spawned from a you know, the 6 of them all together. I don't know. It means nothing, but I'm saying it.
No, I think it means something. Thank you. I'm here to support you.
Thank you. Just support.
Flesh it out and come
support
back to
votes
us.
there. I mean, let's. Does anyone want to say anything else about? I mean, I think, you know, it's a good point. I mean, obviously, Arinnet had the idea that the Abaddon was going to be in the Fractal, which is what your original point was, Boots. So I think, you know, Fornax saying that is, you know, well founded because they actually did that. But maybe it's fate. Maybe, like, you know, it just wasn't meant to be, and they're gonna actually have their own expansion. I think that would be really cool, especially with where they're going now. I think it's definitely a possibility, right? They don't have to be. It doesn't have to be world changing, world ending. Lots of MMORPGs have started doing that. You know, Elder Scrolls did a very political thing.
Just the trailer looks. The trailer just looks kind of like a few adventurers going on sort of like a heist mission kind of situation, you know, like they're going down there, kind of like Indiana Jones kind of deal.
Exploration mostly. Maybe,
exploration, but like with a purpose. It looks like they're trying to get some sort of treasure, but
maybe
I don't know.
I just want them to. The Daddy, I want a pony. I want Abaddon to come back, and I want us to lead us into the mists. First of all, I think that the Lagos should be his Marganite followers that we didn't realize, and they've been worshipping under the ocean forever. That would be nice, and that would be a lovely way to get them into the story. And then I would like them to take us to the human world, where we can explore what the threat that drove them from their world. That's what I want.
That would be sick. I would love that.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah, I still really want
Daddy,
that information and that lore and that story, because we forget about that. I do, because I forget things. But, like, you know, I think everyone does. I think there's a lot of people that don't know about that. There's so much potential with the, like, expansions coming out more often to really just visit more, like, of what we don't know, which is always interesting. And the fractals, like you say, they are a beautiful place to do that, because fractals are there actually for honestly, for reading it, the whole game is their playground because they do it all the time.
Yeah.
But fractals are even more so. That's that place where they just let loose and they really just go wild with their imagination.
Yeah, because you could tell any story you want from any time in Tyria, so you could just do whatever you want.
And it doesn't have to be even like in this universe, which is what kind of Fornax was saying earlier. So you could have an abandoned fractal, which isn't relevant at all to
But it does seem
wild.
that recently they have been, like with Sunqua Peak, for example,
True.
putting in fractals that are related to something coming up. So
Calaris
And,
in chat.
and the
That's
and
true.
the nightmare one, right? The
Yeah.
nightmare one was
Nightmare
very
one,
related to this story. Yeah.
True.
So
Okay. All right. I've been
Okay,
showing
sorry for derailing.
Fornax's. No,
Thank you.
absolutely. I showed your video in the background as well. So if you do want to watch that video, go to their channel because you are ridiculous, by the way, with your editing and the visuals
I know.
you use. This is really good, and I am going to save this so I can watch it later. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Good. Thank you. Take the compliment. You have no choice.
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. We must support and uplift our friends. Roadmaps, summer expansion. Okay, we didn't really get an opportunity to talk about this much. We kind of did it on the other podcasts, and we were like, were like the summer expansion. We just kind of mentioned it. No, actually, we just did it.
You said we'll talk about it at the end of the show, and then I said
We
I
ended.
don't think we will talk about it at the end of the show. We
did,
should talk about
actually,
it now.
that's
And then you
true.
said no. Leave it to the end
I
of
think
the
Chris
show.
told
Talked
us to
about it
go.
at the beginning. We would have never gotten to the balance.
So yeah, that's why. That's why
These
it was
two
you
are
two.
quite behemoths of topics, both
I mean-
balance and an
That's true.
expansion.
Yes, that was Kroof. Kroof was the logic. Kroof was the driver of sanity in that episode, which is.
Which happens very rarely, but it
Yeah,
happened.
no,
very, very rare.
I'm
very rare.
questioning even saying that, but you know.
I have to say that I'm very glad that Jebro forgot to circle back to it, or that you ran out of time, because now it means that I get to talk expansion with all of you, and I was so sad
Exactly.
I was gonna have to miss that episode. So
It was very balance oriented, but the balance is relevant as well because it's going to be something I wanted to pick up. We're not going to talk about everything because we have already been going for about 45 minutes, and it's not going to be the longest podcast in the world today, but we still got a fair bit to talk about. Expansions.
So yeah, let's start with what we know about the expansion.
No, I've got an order. Okay, I've got a
didn't link
document.
the show notes.
I did.
Usually,
Didn't
Can
I?
I get a
You
number
did?
3 with
I don't think
extra
you did.
cheese and a large
Didn't I
drink?
do that?
I
did.
My order.
Where? Show me your show notes.
In the only chat we have,
Oh, look
it's
at that.
there.
It's right there. It's the first,
It's
it's the first
literally
thing.
the last thing.
Oh, look at that. Okay, maybe I'll look at that. Hold on a
Okay,
second.
good. So what I want to do first of all is talk about a release date because Rook was talking about this as well before we came on, and they made a very good point. They say it's a summer expansion. Summer had just begun officially a couple of days ago, you know, solstice, all that kind of fun stuff. If you witnessed solstice, happy solstice and all the things, it was beautiful. We're there already. So we've got 3 months, okay? But that is an announcement, promotion, marketing, and build up in 3 months already. If they play it right at the end of, you know, summer. Thoughts on, I also want to get one thing out of everyone. Also in chat, please start thinking about yourself. Dates. I want prediction dates. Exactly. As well. I would love to, I'm going to write them down and see you're right. I'm going to put it in this document. I would love to. You don't have to think about it right now. You can give it by the end of the podcast. I want a
August
date.
28th, 2023.
You 100% on that?
Yes, because it was the release date of Guild Wars 2.
Oh, I like that. And it's this single,
Oh,
it's a symbol of change as well. I actually really like that.
Maybe they'll change the logo because it's no longer dragon oriented.
Did you say 2022?
Is it
No.
2023?
Yes, the past. So Kroof is
2023.
August 28th.
That's a
Or
Monday.
around there.
mine
To the
is
29th.
mine is September 5th, because PAX
Okay.
West
Mhm.
is the first weekend of September, and if they want to have some kind of big blowout expansion drop
Yeah.
event, and we don't want to push it too late into September, we want to still
Which
just
date?
like barely squeeze it in.
Say third.
September 5th.
Fifth. Okay.
5th, because that's a Tuesday.
That's when
So-
you think their announcement's going to be, or
That's when I think they're going to drop it when they release it. That's what we were talking about, or are we talking
Yeah, the
about
release
yeah.
date
announcement?
of the actual expansion. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to say September 5th.
Look at you two with the logic here. I'm loving it. Good stuff. Real good reason. Solid. I mean, also, yeah, PAX West. That's right. I think you're also hoping that because you're going. And I'm like, yes, same. I want to have something there and I want to be part of it. Please.
Is it a little
All
bit
of us.
hopium? Is it a little bit copium? Yes, 110%. But I mean, it is also traditionally a time. I mean, it still blows my mind that they did a huge release event for Icebrood Saga at PAX West, but we did
Your
not have.
face!
I mean,
I love it because that's the face I made when I found out about it when I was there. Like, you're there now.
Well,
I'm glad.
I mean, I think it's funny because
That's awesome.
at the time, I remember Jebro and I had very different opinions on this, where I was like, they are leading up to an expansion, and part of this is them leading up to hype of the expansion. And Jebro at the time, along with Roy, were both saying, you know, no, I'm pretty sure this is not an expansion, and this means that they aren't going to be doing expansions from here on out. It's going to be this new format. And now here we are, like, you know, down the road, and we did get both an expansion and a new format of expansions that theoretically something like that Icebird Saga could have been heralding with the event if they had at the time thought, oh, maybe we'll do something like the ESO expansion model, right? So kind of both things came true wildly enough within the handful of years following. So yeah, for me personally, I think that the hype of an in-person event and actually getting people, you know, to a venue, getting creators there, like we've all seen recently with Final Fantasy 16, how all of these in-person shenanigans they've been doing with the Tower of London and the LA debut and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's something that oftentimes does bring a lot of energy and attention to the game. And ESO almost always has some kind of live, you know, creator kickoffy kind of thing.
Yeah. Every single year. Yeah.
So I don't know if they'll do it because Guild Wars 2 kind of bucks the trend sometimes, and it's very possible they just do more live stream stuff like they did for End of Dragons and they release it earlier. But it seems to me like PAX West is in their home city. It's an event that historically they've done a lot at. So I'm kind of like, maybe PAX West. Maybe they'll wait for the full release until that, or maybe they'll do a celebration post-release. I don't know.
Fornax and Boots. What do you reckon? When's it
Not a
coming?
Scoobies. Not a Scoobies. No idea.
That's
no idea
not
when.
my prediction, but fine.
No, I can't make a prediction. I
You
think
have
that
to.
I think
the
Kroof and Rook made the perfect predictions. Both have a reasonable.
If they're
and
wrong, you
logical...
could be right, though. This is the whole point. There's a lot of days left. Okay, we need to cover 3 more. At the very least.
Honestly, I've got no horse in this race. As long as they release it before the end of the year, I'll be happy.
But that's cheating. Like, give me a rough
I'm
date.
a basic.
Come on.
I'm a basic
No,
bug.
you're not. You are not
Bug,
basic.
bug.
Just give me a
I
date.
don't know
Think about it.
what is the last day of summer? What is the exact last day of
September
summer?
What's the last Tuesday of
There
summer?
you go then.
What,
So
September
I will
21st?
predict that will be, that's the last official day of summer. So it must be out before then. So that is the last day they can possibly do it for.
I'm
And
gonna
miss all
put-
the wonderful
This is
stuff.
like the Price is Right strategy. Just
Oh god, yeah.
Beginning, yeah, it does say beginning summer 2023, so it has to be
Yeah.
before September 21st.
Mm-hmm.
I said
Yeah.
Fornax, September 21st, 2023, quote, not got a horse in this race because I'm coming back to that.
I say
wait.
September 8th.
September the 8th.
Mm.
Is that
Yeah.
on PAX? I can't remember the date of PAX West. I haven't bought tickets for that. I need to do that. Oops.
The last day of PAX West, or at least the last day I have it marked in my calendar, is September 5th. So that would give them a couple days after.
Okay.
There you go. And it's a Friday.
Okay. I'm writing this down.
I know nothing about marketing, so I'm learning everything right now. This is amazing.
You're not the only one. Sorry. A little bit of a cheeky comment. Okay.
So the problem with Friday is the good thing about Friday is it's good for the consumer. They get to start playing it over the weekend.
Yeah.
But the bad
true.
thing is that it's
True,
bad
true.
for the devs if there's
Friday
launches
roll
at the end of
launches
it.
for expansions is that something that happens often?
Didn't they
is.
release End of Dragons on a Friday?
Maybe.
Am I forgetting? Hold on.
I feel
let
like
me
they did
see.
release one of their expansions kind of like
Something was on
Heart
a
of
Friday.
Thorns was during the week because I had to get up for school the next day.
So
I
was
remember
End of
that.
Dragons. End of Dragons was a Tuesday.
Path
wasn't
of Fire
Or
was
Monday.
also a Tuesday, I think. Yes.
it? Okay.
End of Dragons, I don't remember actually.
It was 20. Oh no, it was the 28th. It was a Tuesday.
Oh, so it
So
is
they seem to
Tuesdays.
stick to Tuesday as
Aha!
their like
Oh,
consistent.
yes.
So then I guess that's it then.
Tuesday's child has far to go.
I thought you said farted.
It's-
I was like,
No, what? No, it's the Monday's child is.
Tuesday's
Monday,
Charles has
Tuesday,
farted. That's which
I'm just
book
gonna
is
shut up
that
now.
My favorite thing about that exchange was Jebro just going, "I thought you said farted," and then Fornex immediately going, "What? No."
Sorry. So that
When
helps.
do you think it's gonna be, Jebro?
I have a sneaking suspicion that they're actually going to use PAX West as a advertisement for the expansion when it's out. I don't want it to be
Yeah.
that, but because
Could be.
Heart of Thorns, I can't remember if it came. Did Heart of
Heart
Thorns
of
come out
Thorns, it
after
was-
PAX East?
It was
Heart of Thorns-
before. Or no, it came out after
Before.
PAX. They did all their marketing
After
at the
PAX.
conventions and then they released it.
Right, because they had the meta,
Midnight.
they had the
They
beta
released it at PAX
playthrough.
South, didn't they?
They did have a beta playthrough at PAX as well. Actually, that's what they did.
Yeah,
That's-
they had a
you could
beta
play it.
playthrough at PAX East and then released it, I believe, at PAX South. They said, by the way, it's out
Yeah.
now.
Heart of Thorns was the literal best marketing of Guild Wars 2 ever. They had the World Tournament Series PvP competitive event at PAX East as well, and they shared a stage with Halo, which is sick. And then so I was shoutcasting that, and then like Boots and other people were like talking on the stage in this massive Guild Wars 2 booth that had it was cool, right, Boots? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was really
It
cool.
was so
It was really cool.
good. And like they had the game you could play. It was a huge booth. It was really big.
I was
I
the
would
most
say-
gripped by Guild Wars 2 during the Heart of Thorns era. Not
Yeah.
only from like the actual
Hmm.
studio, but also the content creation in that era
Ugh.
was on another level.
It was
the
so
content creators, it honestly inspired me even more so just to start making like random gameplay videos, just to like start to slowly ease into it. Cause I was like, oh, this is great. This looks like fun. Not only is this like a really cool game, but this entire community seems really awesome. And that
Yeah.
it was just, I don't know, it's like lightning in a bottle. I don't know if we'll ever actually have that same energy, but hopefully they've been shifting it. They, can see what worked well with End of Dragons, what maybe didn't work well, and they can start to shift that for the 4th expansion this time
Well,
around.
I think they probably got to start.
Well, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I mean that's one big thing we haven't even talked about yet. So at the farthest out date. Now, Jebro, did you want to actually toss a date out there yourself before we start talking about this next bit?
Oh yeah.
Or
I'm
Yeah,
going to go
mo-
with
money
Tuesday.
where mouth is, yeah.
Yes, no, yeah, I made you do one. I'm just looking at my calendar because something bugged on my PC. I'm going to go with September the 5th. Wait, someone said 5th. You said 5th. Damn it. I actually think you're right. I think that's going to be the date. I'm just going to say the week before because it's a Tuesday. 29th of, no, did someone say 29th of August? You said 28th, Kroof, didn't you?
29. He changed it to 29.
Yeah, because 29th is a Tuesday, and I guess
Yeah,
it's like a day
29th is a
after, but it's
Tuesday.
like a new age, so it's like one step forward in Guild Wars 2's life.
Tuesday's
Whatever.
fine.
Do you want to change it to 29th? You can if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I told Boots, and that's like the most important person to tell.
So
Yeah.
do you think the 29th will change it? I'll do the week.
We'll change it to 29th.
I'll do the week
Tried
before then.
28th, but like at 11:59, so like it rides both. So
Oh,
I'll have
oh
2
my
dates covered.
god! I say 22nd of August, just because. Why not?
Also, what time zone are we talking about? Because people
Yeah,
live in
that's a
different
good
time
point.
zones, and so we could have
The
multiple days
podcast is
covered
not
depending
that
on these
long.
answers.
In Australia, it's actually released on the
On the
30th.
next day,
Yeah.
yeah.
There you
That's
go.
true. Well, so we could all be right or wrong in different ways. Some of us, not
I'm
all of us.
especially wrong though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll come out in the US on days we expect. Yes. Okay. So, as we've established, the very latest that they could release this is end of August. So, August 28th, Kroof's No, wait. No,
End of
September.
Fornax.
End of
Yeah.
September. I'm sorry. So Fornax is September 21st is the latest date that we have estimated here. So that really only gives us a handful of months here. And we don't have anything yet about
Other than some audio.
and a piece of concept art of demons, maybe?
Yeah. Like
There is a
silhouette
drawing.
sketch.
It's kind of like a stick man drawing. Yeah. Like it's powerful.
By the way, I'm kind of leaning towards Fornax's 21st nowadays because
because now in Rookery's just given us the reality of what's going on.
No,
Yeah,
but
I'm there.
remember
I feel the same.
in 2022
Yeah.
when they were saying when End of Dragons is going to release this for a next huge expansion, the information they gave us is it's going to release in February.
Yes.
They didn't give us a date. And then finally, eventually, it landed on February 28th, the last possible date in February.
That's a good point. And they do say summer as well. So like they've said summer, they've given them more time rather than August. So they've covered themselves for 3 months, right? That's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
I mean, I think that's somewhat common practice to do.
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
I predicted
Yeah.
February 29th.
So there's the question. You did. Okay, nice. I've put a question. What will come with it? We kind of already know, but just talking about roughly how many. I don't think they said. Did they say the exact amount of months? I think I put it down further in the document. So I'm gonna kind of go through what I've written and read so I can Oh no, because I was talking about combat. Okay, I'm going to talk about combat first. That's what I'm going to talk about because I'm going to talk about elite specs because that's a hot topic for a lot of people, and I don't mean that shock in America.
Classes, gameplay,
Or the lack of elite specs.
how we
Dun,
play
dun,
a game.
dun.
The actual gameplay of the game. So to quote a recent blog post, with our next expansion, you never know. Our goal is to further augment the combat options for each profession by adding new tools to their arsenal and by lifting constraints that will unlock an unprecedented number of playstyle customization options, while keeping the feel of Guild Wars 2 combat true to its origins. Theory crafters are going to be very busy. So this is what they're doing. They're not doing elite specializations anymore. If you do not know what elite specializations are, that's a new line where you can basically it changes your class into potentially a support, a more DPS oriented character, or it gives you more options with boons, and it gives you a new weapon to use and lots of new mechanics, which is very fun. But they're not doing that in this expansion. It's the first time in all the expansions they've done. But what are they doing instead? And we did talk a little bit about this during the balance patch, right? So we are going to talk about that so we can bring Rook back in on this with their thoughts as well. We had some thoughts. Some of the thoughts were, I remember we said, potentially unlocking, I think there were some wild ones, and we were also like erring on the side of, elite specializations with other elite specializations. But like, the impossibility of that. But also, what else could that mean? Like, just go wild, peeps. Like, what is it? Where is it? Unprecedented number of playstyle customization options. Like, for example, what does that mean? Like, interpret. What's going on?
I still am in my firm stance of they will just decouple the weapon and elite specialization connection to where you'll just have access to all the weapons because that in a way it does create an unprecedented number of build options because weapons in Guild Wars 2 are often formed with a role in mind. So they'll take like a staff on Guardian and that will be its like support weapon. And if that was say tied to one elite specialization, it would limit the way that you could use it and to the extent that you could use it. But if you decouple it from the elite specialization system and just have, you could pick whatever weapon you wanted at any given time, you could have a lot more flexibility with the type of role that you're playing and you're going for.
I hope you're right because I want to use Mace Shield and my Scrapper so bad. Like because if I want to play support Scrapper, like I'm using Hammer and I'm like, yeah, but I want to offer protection with my shield. Like, but what's the option? I've got a pistol. Like, that doesn't make no sense. Like, it's weird. Like, yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? Love it. Agreement? Do we think that's going to be also you can agree or disagree with each other? You know?
I would love that, but I think they're going to bring back secondary professions.
Oh my god.
Going hard here. Okay.
That's the hopium now.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Tell us more. Oh, that's a big hand.
We all just went, oh my god.
Go on.
So they're going back to their roots. In the original game, there was a primary profession and a secondary profession. So you could select a warrior and you could be a monk. So you'd make yourself a paladin. You could be a necromancer and you could be a ritualist, and you could mix and match, which was one of the best things, and probably for them, for balance, the worst things about the original game. You could literally build however the hell you wanted. It was amazing. Also, going back to the whole Boots special of capture runes, going back and going out, and special characters that you grab
cool.
skills off. That was
did like
awesome.
that.
I really loved that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just love to see that. I would love for players to be able to have access to the whole spectrum, and that would completely free up the game. Like you'd have to lock it down a bit because holy shirt balls. But if you could get access to one line of somebody else's build, what could you do with that? Yeah, or maybe you get maybe we have 4 lines of build rather than 3, or maybe they extend the builds out to have another tier past what we've got already. So you've got, there's so many ways that they could do this. But I would love to see secondary professions come back in. I think that the theory crafting would just be bonkers. Although I pray for the devs who have to balance. That's what I would say.
That'd be insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I love both of these ideas, and I'm super on board with either of them if they want to implement. I mean, I'm just thinking of wild, ridiculous things that they could do, so, bear with me. I think, building off of the unlocking all weapons that are available for your class, just making more weapons available to classes is something we've talked about before. That's pretty much a no-brainer, so that more classes get to use certain weapons they didn't have access to previously. Something that just struck me right now that could be a wild possibility would be, what if your skills on the right-hand side also had a flip? So you had
Everyone's a revenant.
Yeah, you had your like main hand, off hand kind of cycle of abilities, but you could spec more on that side and then like flip between them, so that you could switch that bar just like you can switch your usage with your weapons. I mean, there's so many options. We noodled some of them before in how they could do this or how they could keep giving you customization options overall. But I mean, I think for me, the ones I'm mostly thinking are that they're going to unlock weapons in some capacity.
Yeah.
That and or if they go really buck wild, we'll have something like the secondary. Now, is this the greatest time to do it while they're also deeply trying to tackle a lot of other balance issues? Like, to me, it feels like this is something they would want to do a couple Expacs down the line if they were going to give us that secondary, secondary class, once they kind of have things in a better place overall that they feel with how classes generally are now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's totally possible. It's totally possible.
Are we also not thinking about other options as well? Boots has got a hand which is doing this, which I suggest something.
Oh yeah, well I could talk, I guess.
I thought you had a suggestion. Sorry, Rook, thank you for your thoughts there as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Rook.
No, I'm just saying thank you for their thoughts. That's all.
Oh, you're saying thank you.
I
Deborah's
put
telling
like
me-
a cap.
Jebra's like, and you done, Rook. It's
No, that's not what I was saying because I said thank you to everyone else and they said thank you.
Scene.
What?
And end it.
Boots.
Right. So I think Fornex's suggestion is like, in an ideal world with an infinite budget for balance, I would love to see us get, one trait line from other class. I would love that. That would be so
you can
great.
go for unicorns and ponies, whatever you want. Like I don't care if it's doable. Say what you want.
So the fun things are that. The fun things are a new elite specialization that's available to every class.
Mhm.
Yes, I was just thinking. Yeah.
The fun things are
Wait, sorry, can you repeat what you just said? I just looked at chat and my attention went away.
A
for
new
second.
elite specialization that's generic and available to every class.
Yeah, love it.
A new.
I think that would be dead in the water.
I know. But he's
debate.
he's saying the unicorn stuff. He's saying the unicorn stuff. I'm saying these are like the
Yes.
And that's an undead horse to me.
Oh,
That's not a unicorn.
It's still there. It's an undead
these are the
unicorn.
crazy
That could be
things that you
cool.
could possibly want.
Yeah, but yeah, but that's okay.
Realistically,
Let me make a little argument for it. which
If
is
you
that
added
there-
explosions, sorry.
Which is that there are, in like ESO, for example, these additional skill lines and abilities that you can acquire that you can
Yes.
use in any and all builds of any and all classes. So, like, you
very
can
true.
train up the Fighters Guild, you can become a werewolf or a vampire, you can get the Sigic Order ability
Sigic
line.
Order is great, yeah.
yeah, and maybe it's a core
So-
line, not an elite spec, so that you
Yeah.
could use it with your.
Or it
elite
could be a
specs.
mastery that is
Or
more
it could- I
in
mean-
depth,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be a set of new abilities that you can work into your build. You know, like where it is something that can
Interesting.
complement or like could be put into all classes. So like I think there's a way to make it happen. Would
Yeah.
it be as neatly tailored? No, but could it maybe offer some more?
Yeah, and obviously
rounding
for
out?
some classes it would be better than for others. And I think so that's another crazy suggestion. Another crazy suggestion is the unlock the rune that where you go to bosses in the world and you fight bosses and you take the skills from them, but they're elite skills from different classes than yours, and you could use elite skills from different classes than yours in that case.
Love it.
These are all great, fun things that could happen, some more so than others, but I think the most realistic thing that's going to happen is, because the two things they say is our goal is to further augment the combat options for each profession by adding one, new tools to their arsenal, and two, lifting constraints. Those are two different things.
I
The
love
lifting
it.
constraints thing, I think, is giving people access to the weapons of their elite specs, whether or not they're using the elite specs. And the new tools, I think, might just be a few new utility skills and maybe an elite skill or two.
I have a thought as well for this. I think I love that, Boots. Yeah, I like the idea of like we've talked a lot about revisiting the old game with some of this stuff. So that idea of stealing those skills away from people and being able to use them maybe for everyone could be quite cool. In PvP, they just have to be available, right? But I was thinking, because going off of what Kroof said about unlocking the weapons. But just adding weapons to classes instead of assigning weapons via elite spec. So even if you just add a weapon potentially for you add a mace for all the classes that don't have a mace, for example, and all weapons that where they don't have a weapon right now, but for a bunch of classes at the same time, and then they worked in tandem with the unlocking of the weapon, I think could be very cool. Or they just add, everyone gets the War Axe, which is a brand new weapon everyone's been wanting to have for so long, and you just get skills. You don't get an elite spec. Again, a lot of work and balance, a lot of work on trait design and changing, but they're working on reducing. If you remember now, they are taking out of the traits though. They've started to take all the weapon cooldowns out of the trait lines as well, so they're actually removing all of that. So
Yeah,
that
maybe,
could
maybe
actually
the lifting
work.
constraints is. Oh no, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it does.
I was gonna say it's something different. I was gonna say
Okay.
maybe the lifting constraints is making it so that your underwater weapons can be used out of underwater.
I
Oh,
mean,
But it
why
doesn't
not?
really
Many
work
people
because-
want that.
I know. Yes, you
That's
want that,
not a
but it's not.
ridiculous
It's
thing
not
to
just.
think.
But it's not just lifting constraints. You'd have to completely redesign all the skills.
But that's just adding a
Yeah.
weapon though, right?
New
Yeah,
tools.
you're just
That
adding
would fall
weapons
into the
on that.
category of new tools.
Yeah.
I think from an expansion
They did it for the
perspective-
staff.
For the staff?
They did it for the because when they made it the staff more of an offensive weapon rather than a statue weapon with the
Right.
with
Oh,
the
No, I'm not
I
saying that
guess-
it's impossible. I'm not saying it's
Okay.
impossible. I'm just saying that I can't attribute it to the lifting constraints.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, you could attribute it to the new tools to
Yes, you could.
give you
could.
some more on-land spells and abilities.
I love
And-
this conversation.
Can I just say that I adore Rook's idea, and I would have these like world masteries linked to the Tyrian orders. So you could have one with the Order of Whispers. If you sneaky beaky, you could have one more like magical based and caster based with the Priory, and you could have one more with martial skills with the Vigil. That would be amazing. If they haven't done that already, they should totally do that and give you credit.
But isn't the actual description of that portion say like they're unlocking restraints while still keeping true to like the philosophy of Guild Wars 2?
Unlock an unprecedented. Well, they said by adding new tools to their arsenal and by lifting constraints that will unlock an unprecedented number of playstyle customizations options while keeping the feel of Guild Wars 2 combat true to its origins. And are they talking about origins as in like the action, like the base core of what it is and dodging and stuff, or are they talking about?
I think they're
Guild Wars
still
1 or
talking. I guess can define origins. It can be a bit broad.
Yeah.
But I think these very general skill lines for everyone does kind of go against the philosophy of Guild Wars 2, where people are already kind of concerned about class identity.
That's true.
The new
At its origin, Guild Wars 2 had racial skills, and those are for every class.
this is, but not every race.
But not every race,
Right,
yeah.
But not every race.
You can get a little bit of your race
So
in there.
I still think that they're going to keep many of the combat functions tailored to the profession that you're playing, while these more general applications of interacting with the world, that really does lie within the mastery system. I think the mastery system, because now that we've done a lot of mounts and the ways of movement have really been explored in Guild Wars 2, we could see like a rejuvenation of the mastery system to implement more of those ideas with like, you know, a Priory line, a Vigil line, a Whispers line. But in terms of what this is talking about, which to me it seems mostly just combat class oriented, I wouldn't necessarily expect too much of that to creep into the profession system.
Someone in chat said maybe we're just getting more environmental weapons.
A purpose for environmental weapons.
Also,
Have you-
Kroof,
have you-
I like what you're saying there. I see what you're saying.
I mean, I'm on board with you, Kroof. I agree with you. Even though I think these are all fun suggestions and good suggestions, I think if we're being realistic of what we're going to get in a year expansion, like our first expansion that's just going to last a year, it's not going to be something on the same level
But it's
as
not
Elite
going to be.
Specialization.
They're not
It's
just
gonna be-
lasting a year. This is the future of the game. This is
Yes,
game
but it'll be
changing,
something.
man.
But this is for our first expansions, is what they're saying. They're going to do something different with their second expansion,
Now,
or possibly
I think it's a
something along the
system
same.
change. If it's going to be,
I don't know if
I
it's
think
a
this is
system
going to be a
change.
huge system change. I think this is going to change not the combat, but like, you know, the idea of what we think of. Like you said, you know, unlocking a weapon from its elite specialization is a huge change because it really locks you into like a
No,
choice,
exactly.
right?
So that's why I think it's realistic, but also interesting.
Yeah. Okay. But it's still
But
big.
the more high concept, the more like intricate things that we're discussing here, I think are less likely to happen, but possibly likely in a future expansion when they are able to like work on it and think about it.
That's fair.
true. Now, what if they were to, and I think this is not a good idea, so I just want to preface with this. before I-
These ideas don't have to be logical or based. They can be just fun and whatever you want them to be. I encourage the creativity and curiosity.
What if they made it so that when you had unlocked elite specs, you no longer had to like be the elite spec to use all the elite spec skills at your disposal? So like you are a guardian and you have also studied the ways of dragon hunter and firebrand
Not
and
just the weapons.
yes, and so at any time you can use any ability from any elite spec in whatever build you're running.
You mean
Just not the
utility?
trait.
You
That
mean
is
utility specifically?
Also,
Ability.
something that I have thought about,
Interesting.
and I think, in a weird way, the elite specialization system is kind of like or like a secondary class. That's kind of the way I would look at elite specs, is that they were so, when you would equip an elite spec, it would change your class to such a degree that you almost felt like you were playing a different class, but while keeping the same themes and motifs of that profession. And one reason why I think that unlocking the weapon would be more logical, is because it would be slightly less pressure on the balance team. But Rook, I've also thought about like, what if you could mix and match like profession mechanics, different utility types between the elite specializations,
my
like
God.
using traps, like for
Well, it wouldn't
Guardian
be the
using
profession
traps.
mechanics, though.
No, like I mean, you could like your
Well,
F1, you could have your
utilities,
spear,
yeah.
your F2, you could have your
Yeah.
tome, your F3, you
Oh
could
my
have.
God, I feel
like,
good
the-
right now.
like that's the upper tier of unlocking restrictions within a class that they could play around with a couple ideas. Maybe they also unlock weapons and utility skills.
I think it would be
Profession
really
mechanics
Calm down,
would
Croof.
be-
Bloody hell.
This
This is.
profession
Well,
mechanics would
I
be a
think
this is
little
hot
iffy
right
on
now.
that
Yeah,
part.
I'm
so
loving
I
this.
think it would be really cool. I think the one issue that you run into is things like with Harbinger, for example, and the
Yes.
utility skills that interact heavily with the profession mechanic itself of the elite spec, like Blight. Like you're going to be giving yourself Blight and
Yeah.
not have a way to get rid of it, I guess, when you're not.
That could be a
not
choice,
Harbinger.
though,
That's
right.
a choice, but you know,
Yeah.
sometimes those are choices that people make.
I guess,
And,
yeah.
You know, I think there is room for people to create a build that
yeah.
is very difficult to play, but can be somewhat rewarding in certain
But
circumstances.
I feel like the the
Would it make
potions,
sense? Not really.
the
but-
potions are not that rewarding to use.
Yeah, but the
even if
utility-
you
Well,
don't
I
then,
have
really
it,
them.
then
love
it
that
becomes
idea,
then it becomes an issue of just the balance in that moment of time within the timeline and life of
Yeah.
this game.
But
But
like,
this is
how
this is
amazing is
another
that?
one of those.
That's
I
cool.
love this idea, and I
Yeah.
hope that it could work, but it's
Yeah.
less realistic than other
I care about
ideas.
that second bit. I'm going with the first bit.
I'm more on board with that idea than like a second profession from like multi-classing. But because the elite specs are kind of already like that. I also thought about that one Dark Knight Rook, and I was also like, "Who that'd be?" And I was like, "Oh no, that'd be a lot." But also like it'd be kind of interesting.
I like
Yeah,
it.
I have no idea how they would actually make it work, and I don't even necessarily think that it would be ideal in many ways, right? Because like if you want a tight gameplay experience, you have to design at some point, you know, you have to have a constrained vision of what you are making. Like there have to be boundaries, guidelines, and rules of logic that your class follows to create a cohesive and satisfying, unique concept and play style. So like, again, could you open all this stuff up and could it be utter chaos? Yes, 110%. I mean, like, absolutely it could. But would that work the best? If we're already having a lot of discussions about class identity or other issues, or like in an MMO in particular, where more of the definition of your playstyle and flow is something that has to then also work in tandem with other players, like, no, it would just make things a big hot mess, I have no doubt. But I mean, it is very interesting to
It's
see
always
what
good
they
to deal
want
with a
to
big
do with
hot
it.
mess, though.
So the upside to this the suggestion like that is fun. It might open up a can of worms, but it'll be fun when it does. The downside is that balance wise, what's going to happen is there'll be combinations of skills and there'll be combinations of things that aren't currently designed for
Yeah.
that are too strong. And so they're going to have to nerf something, right? And what happens is they'll nerf something that'll be a nerf to this new fancy build that's a weird combination of things, but it'll over nerf something that
Yeah.
didn't need to be nerfed, the original lead spec, for example, or the core class. And so that's where you get into like some really things that just don't work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, hear me out for this. What if, and I don't know if this actually would be in alignment with the final part of that statement, which is while keeping true to the original design tenets of Guild Wars, right? But what if we did get something like a universal mastery or whatever that delineated something like a tank, healing, or DPS role for something like an LFG system or something like where you would have to have X thing enabled So like for example, as a tank or whatever, I don't know, maybe it would give you some kind of aggro generation using your abilities, or maybe it would give you abilities that would like auto be slotted into your bar or something. That would be your like taunt or whatever it is that people have asked for a while.
You just need to literally not forget about the taunt condition in Guild Wars 2.
I know.
There's only 4 skills that have it.
You,
and they're
this
only,
is
like,
this
2
is the
seconds.
Kroof needs a podcast on taunt in Guild
Just
Wars 2.
taunt. But yeah, I digress.
It like maybe
No, you're right,
I see in chat the suggestion it adds a bunch of toughness for those bosses that are like toughness baited or whatever.
Yeah, a few of them.
Like, and with heals, I mean, I don't know, maybe it would give you some kind of baseline heal thing or some kind of baseline support thing. With DPS, again, I don't know. I don't know.
Direct
Honestly,
healing.
direct
Oh my
healing.
god.
This is a great idea.
But like, I think that in many ways that could perhaps solve multiple problems for them, where if they ever do want to design something like a look for group, like how do you delineate and make sure that people that are signing up for a role actually have those things without forcing mandatory policing of players, like policing one another essentially to like dictate what you need or don't need.
Yeah. So
It's something they could do.
I think this was a great idea. I think the problem is though that this current balance patch that's coming up the 27th is trying to make it so that's not necessary. They're adding basically all the possible roles in a squad composition to each class when they didn't have them before, so that we don't need an extra special class to do that for it. So I think if they didn't do that, that would have been a great idea. And I think it is a great idea. But then that does also bring up, the possibility of if this is a standardized thing that, let's say, gives quickness or gives alacrity to everybody really easily, it in combination with some other classes might be too strong. Yeah. Although if it is an elite spec, if it is an elite spec, it wouldn't be, because right now they don't have alacrity or quickness anymore coming up on the core anymore. It's all on elite spec, so it wouldn't be. It would still be a trade-off. So yeah, I think it's still possible.
I love
Quickness and alacrity has messed up so much of Guild Wars 2.
I hate them both.
Wild.
I think they're both awful boons. I hate them. I actually really don't
love
like them.
They're
them.
great
I like
as
quickness
momentary
only just-
effects, but needing them
They're
up
not gameplay, right?
99% of your fight, it's like, it's wild, because like it used to be a really big ask to like create a group around those 2 boons, and they were so strong. But now that they're literally on everything, it's like they're just always, it's weird. It's like they're no longer of so much importance because they're just up all the time. It's like an all or nothing game with quickness and alacrity. It's like you either have none of it or you always have it up 100% of the time.
I like that you can have if you think about other classes, or if you're thinking of WoW or Rift back in the day, it would be like, I have to hit this boss with this ability to give the raid like increased DPS for 30 seconds, and that would be cool. Like I'd have to remember that rotation in with my other abilities. It wasn't just like, I'm pressing this to make sure I've got quickness for the next 20 seconds, then I'm gonna make sure I press this, and it's just like, that's kind of your job, as well as doing some damage, that but it's just, anyway, that's a different conversation. I'm not gonna go
I think my problem with quickness is I love it, but I love it because I loved it back in the day.
Yeah,
and
like
now
quick downstaying and stuff like that.
Yeah, all that stuff. But now it feels like a lot of skills have been designed with quickness in mind already. So you kind of need quickness for them to feel good. Like especially with like
like
firebrand
rocket charge
skills
and warhammer, unhammer and stuff. It's like,
Atlas skills.
And it makes older weapons feel worse, like Ellie staff, with certain like longer cast times on auto attacks or channels.
so true. Quickness. And you're just doing this slow animation. But like you used to have quickness stomping in PvP, and they got rid of that. It was so fun.
It's because of quickness rezzing was a problem.
Yeah, but
expansion 4 might open some boxes, it might close some others.
Bring back quickness.
At the end of the day,
quickness rezzing and
New
dancing. I loved it. It was also a little bit overpowered. Okay, Is anyone got? I mean, we'll have these conversations.
I just
as
want to
well as we lead
reiterate,
up
I
to
really
it.
like Rook's suggestion of a baseline class just for looking for group to standardize it. It's,
Yeah, we're just gonna make
Yeah.
classes to fix the game. So there'll be a class to fix the
I like
blocking.
the idea. I really like the idea.
They could do it within the spec system itself already by like the ones
Yeah.
that you pick up give you base stat boosts to that like role that you're playing.
Yeah.
They can make
wanted
it
to.
happen because it is something that, you know, I talk about ESO a lot because of the parallels. I think the play styles as far as MMOs go between Guild Wars 2 and ESO are the most similar within the space,
Yes,
right?
I agree.
As well as things like the MMO format. But one of the things that has been a problem in ESO is that initially they set out with the exact same mentality of we will have no traditional roles, but then they realized that it's incredibly hard to design satisfying group play combat if there aren't certain niches that players need to fill. And then they, lo and behold, started doing these like tank, healer, DPS roles, except that there's nothing to reinforce in ESO what makes you a tank. So if you queue into a high level, like a vet dungeon or something, and it's one of the ones that's actually really tough, and you queue up as the tank, and you literally are not tanking, and you have no abilities that make you a tank, and you have nothing, you have no gear that makes you a tank, you can just queue and be put into it. And part of how you navigate the game is that you just kind of deal with that. But sometimes it does make certain things in very niche situations impossible to do if somebody had to fulfill a role. So it's
I've been in that
something where-
group. I've been in
Yes,
that
yes.
group. Yeah.
It's like
Right,
any dungeon queue, though, right? You can do that in every game. Although this is as well, like, do games detect stats or anything?
Well,
There
it
is
depends.
one.
Yeah, because
there is
I mean,
one at least.
most other games have built in specifically the role you're fulfilling, right? So if
Oh,
you're
that's
playing,
in the ESO. That's in the ESO, though. You can pick tank or healer or DPS.
well, no. But what I mean is that whatever you are playing is designed to be a tank, a healer, or a DPS. So like in 14, for example, if you pick a paladin and you queue into content as a paladin, you are a tank. Your skill set.
Oh,
it is
because that's their
tank skill
class
set.
identity
yes,
completely.
it's their-
They can't do anything else. Or do
Exactly.
damage.
Like it is
Oh.
exactly that thing. And in like World of Warcraft, for example, there are ways to build, definitely, but that usually sends you down specific skill trees and things that also have some kind of specific
Yeah,
bend
that's-
to them.
That's the.
Are you
I
a
think
healer? Are you
Final
DPS?
Fantasy
Are you a
14
tank?
is definitely more specific than most MMOs for sure. But like
Mm-hmm.
ESO, there are lines. So if you pick like a Templar, you get 3 lines, and then you've got the tank line, you've got the healer line, and you've got the DPS, and sometimes they cross over. But the guild lines, the problem in ESO is that they're talking about identity as well for their classes, because a lot of the powerful abilities, which is kind of what we talked about in terms of the way that it wouldn't work maybe for Guild Wars 2 as well, is that there are really strong abilities from guilds like Fighters Guild, like Undaunted, which is the dungeon guild, and also the support and offensive trees for the World v World part of the game are so strong that people end up having like one ability from their class, and then just everything else is from like the weapon and all the guilds. And then it's like, well, I'm an Arcanist, which is a new class in the game, by the way, and very good. But I also do everything everyone else does, which is kind of weird. And I'm like, damn it, this was such a good idea. And so they nerfed it all in the end. So that's just balance.
It's hard.
Tough,
It's
but
hard with
fun.
Yeah, it's hard with ESO too because it's coming from the Elder Scrolls franchise, where the idea of you pick up and make whatever you want, and that is whatever the hell you have become is what you are in that game, you know, right?
Interesting.
But it's also an MMO, so class identity is a part of MMORPG landscapes. Whether or not the history of the game is something like Elder Scrolls, where you have so much freedom to just kind of pick things up and level them, grab a two-handed,
true.
level that. So I honestly think ESO does a really good job of creating a sense of it within the confines of an MMO, but it runs into some of these issues, right? Where if there are no delineating factors or if skill trees or classes themselves aren't designed around it, then how do you determine that somebody has the baseline to fulfill the role they are queuing for if you're making content with that? So that's where I think something like this tank, healer, DPS would at least give a baseline so that if people were coming in, it would give you something for group content, at least that would be a baseline. But again, would that go against the kind of innate organic mechanical design philosophies that Guild Wars 2 set out with, yes, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, this is what we're talking about. This is why I like having these conversations, because we don't have to be right or wrong. It doesn't have to be like, doable. I think just having the curiosity is something that I love about all of this, which is why we do the podcast in the first place. We all have different ideas, which are very, very cool. Okay,
Can I take a moment to clarify before we move on? Because we've been talking about there isn't any looking for group element. There is completely a looking for group element in the game, but it's all driven by players. So what we're talking about here is an auto matching system. So you log in, you say, I'm going to play support. So you click the support button, and someone says, I'm going to play a more offensive. Click that button. I want to be the specific fight. The person boss is going to hit. Click that button, and then you queue up. And we're talking about policing, and in 14 and in WoW, they also have like a gear score system. So to make sure that the content that you're getting into, you have the gear equivalent to actually get into it and be able to be an effective player at that thing, which you do not need in this game, because exotics will do you fine for anything outside of end game fractals.
I think we all agree that we need
one
that.
Less thing.
We all agree that we need that, right? LFG.
I wonder if
we're not going to go down that line, people, right now, because we've been down that line in every podcast.
It would be essential for the game to check your gear if you would like to do an automated LFG system.
I think that should be a thing. We've come so long in this phenomenon. It's 2023. Get the AI to do it, surely.
It could be something they released during one of these expansion cycles, for sure. That is sort of a part of the package.
Yes. Okay. I'll add that to the list of stuff that hopefully we'll want to see.
Also, a quick aside about. Oh wait, what's our next topic?
I'm gonna read something. I'm not sure if this next thing is something I'm gonna read, but I'm just reiterating what we're kind of gonna go over. We're going to go off combat for a second. We're going to talk about general what we think's coming. Like, we know very, very kind of vaguely what's coming, but more predictions basically, and then we'll end it probably.
Can I start?
Can I read the things? Is that right?
No. Just let me start.
No, we're going to do it because it's my show.
You can start.
It's our show, but it's my channel.
You're recovering. Well, let him cook. Let him cook.
Let him cook?
Yeah. Okay. Wow. I just wanted to reiterate some things for people, because these studio blog posts, they've had to reiterate things in their own blog post because there's been so much of a gap between each one and news, so people don't actually know what's going on half the time. So I just wanted to remind people. But there was a question in one of the blog posts in the past, and it said, how does the What Lies Beneath quarterly release differ from future expansion quarterly releases?
Oh yeah.
Because see the relevance. Okay. It's like I've been doing podcasts for a while. So there is some planning. Beginning with the 4th expansion, there will be new content updates every 3 to 4 months following an expansion release. For context, there was no new Guild Wars 2 End of Dragon story content released between February 22nd and February 23rd. February 22nd and February 23rd, February 2022 and February 2023. That would be a tight window. They did go for 2 weeks, but one day might be a little bit taking the piss. Largely because the team worked on an expansion up until its release, delaying new content development until a month or two later. Comparatively, the 4th expansion hasn't even been officially revealed yet. Yes, we know. And we're already making headway on its quarterly release content, sorry. This is one of the biggest reasons we're excited about this transition. Additionally, as we laid out earlier in this blog, which is, you have to go read that if you want to read it again, the 4th expansion's quarterly releases will be augmented by other types of content and feature updates that aren't included in the Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons quarterly releases. So this is the first time they're truly doing everything. They did say that End of Dragons wasn't kind of a little bit on the lines of what we're kind of thinking about in the future, but not really. What I want to think about is
just want to say they're so happy to tell us that they're not talking about the game.
I know, right? Like, why
They're
did
like,
they
it
tell
hasn't
us?
even been announced yet.
That's why I said that in there. I was like, oh, that's exactly what I thought every single time. And I'm just like, yes, we know. You don't need to reiterate that. Look at that sad face.
That's just
from
a really
that.
funny way of looking at it that I had not really thought about. It's funny.
Do you think this is going to be...
Anyways.
Do you think this is going to be seasonal? Like, it's just going to be like, there's going to be summer, autumn, winter. You know,
Yeah.
do you think that's
Yeah.
what they're going to just be doing? Like, just in those
Yeah.
seasons? I mean, that's when that makes the
And
most
then you
sense.
can have season battle passes. I mean, PvE reward tracks.
Talk about, is that what you want to talk? Is that what's something? Because we can go wild with this.
Oh, well, I mean, that is one thing. I wanted to start by saying like what I'm kind of happy about that we're not
Sure.
getting with the expansion.
Yes.
We're not getting guild halls, and I'm so excited.
Well, they haven't. I mean, guild.
They said we're getting 2 maps.
But they might have.
Do you think one of
guild
those maps
features.
is going to be a guild hall?
Yeah. There might be...
I mean, no. I don't think they're going to
No,
be doing
no,
it.
no, 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 no,
I
no.
think we're
I mean,
hoping for guild features.
we also don't know how they quantify guild halls. Like, we don't know if they internally would even label them in the way that would be like, this is a map we're delivering to you, right? So, like, that
True.
might fall into the category of additional or other content. I hope that they kind of confirm and that they use those resources elsewhere. But the big takeaway from this that at least I got is that, yeah, I think just with the pacing of how usually patch cycles and things go in MMOs, it's probably going to have some sort of seasonal correlation because it's spread out over the year and the year has seasons in it. So I do think we're going to see that.
I did say a really
and-
obvious thing. That's true.
No, I mean, it's fine. But I mean, I don't know about the exact cadence. I would roughly assume every 3 months, but the one thing that was really key to me is that they mentioned that, compared to other things, this means that even with those quarterlies, we're going to be getting additional content we don't get now. So usually what we get, story, map, new meta, perhaps some other little things with that, right? Perhaps new mount, perhaps new adventures, perhaps new, whatever it is that kind of comes along with that map. But this is them saying definitively, we have plans for a cycle of content. We have plans that the Fractal will release every year. We have plans that these strikes will release every year over the course of this cycle, as opposed to in the past where it's really been kind of a huge question mark when we get some of that content. So it seems like they're streamlining a very specific cadence here that is manageable for them and allows them to deliver more like across the course of a year, as opposed to having to pile it all up in an expansion every indeterminate amount of years and then do whatever they're able to do in between that.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Great reply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
I
job,
think that is an
Stu.
accurate player assumption and perspective from what they've told us about like their plans.
I do. Okay, I'm gonna read what they said for the release as well, just for give us their exact wording. So the first release in the expansion cycle was the launch point for a new story arc. Okay, bringing with it 2 new open world maps. So that's the beginning. That's the first one. 2 new maps, 2 strike missions from scratch. I'm assuming new gameplay and combat features. That's in every expansion. New gameplay and combat features. So I mean, I guess release specs along the line could be in that if they go, new weapons, whatever we've talked about earlier, which is kind of why I wanted to talk about that. New rewards. I'm really that's the one thing I'm like reward, because that's not an aside. That's a main feature, like new rewards. I know we always get new rewards and they really emphasize that a lot. I feel like the Battle Pass thing could be coming, like Kroof, like you said. Like we've talked about a reward. We've talked about this. They've got the system technically in the game as well. They've got reward tracks. They can they not augment that for a Battle Pass? I mean, if you've played New World, their Battle Pass system, they've got some changes to do. It's really good. Like the challenges across that, it's actually challenging to complete it as well. Like you have to do high-end content, or you can be a high-level crafter to do things. You got options, you got sick amount of skins, you get gear in there as well. It's really good. It's made me log in every day to do it, and I'm like, I'm getting my like wood cutting up to like 200, which is actually really hard to do. Like you have to dedicate a lot of time in the game to get your crafting skills up, and it's solid. Like it's a solid thing that's kept me logging into the game, and it's made me play other content as well, like open world PvP, wars, all the different things they've got going on, dungeons, higher level mutated dungeons, which are like Mythic Plus in World of Warcraft. So there's like, it really does open up a lot of stuff for you, and battle passes work the best for MMORPGs. They really do, because there's so much you can chuck in there. It doesn't work for MOBAs that well. I know that I think Dota 2 actually is taking their battle pass out of the game, for example, because it doesn't work well for MOBAs, because you can only play a MOBA. That's all you do. You literally play that one thing, and that's all you do. You can play different roles and hit jungle minions or whatever, but that you can't do it, and then you can't do anything else. So I think that is my top one, actually. I want that thing badly.
Can I ask you a question? I've
Yes.
never played a game with a battle pass. Is it like just a long achievement?
I will get an example for you as well. So what it is imagine you've got like 1 to say 100 levels of this thing. You complete content in the game which levels up your battle pass. You could even think of that as leveling up your character in a different
Almost
way.
like a mastery whereby you unlock different things as you...
Yeah, and you have to
okay.
pay for it in a lot of games as well. But there's also a free version which gives you basic think on Recruit House or...
Sorry,
thoughts on
please.
that as
Sorry,
well?
I've never run into this type of content, so...
That's great. I love it. Go on, Rick. You said you were going to say anything.
Oh, no, all I was going to say is that, yeah, Battle Pass is basically like, I see Boots having a concerning moment that possibly there's some big world news that's happening that we may need to address, but, you know,
Maybe
for
not.
checking on that,
Just let it
maybe not.
happen.
Maybe not.
not.
You know, it's fine.
Wait, really? What's happening? You wanna-
What?
you
I'm
wanna
not
DM?
sure.
What?
Are you being...
I mean, Boots just says,
Yes,
hey, we're a little out of touch being on the podcast currently. Is there a Russian civil war starting currently?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. I just went to Twitter. Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
maybe. Well,
Maybe
maybe.
some fighting in Russia, but
Interesting.
Well,
Okay.
All right,
We'll see what
whatever.
happens there.
Yeah, not good
But
worst
no,
whoa.
the idea basically
I
being
just saw
that
an
it's like,
explosion.
oh gosh, the idea being that it's like a like the reward tracks in PvP or World versus World kind of thing, right? So it's like a passive thing, or like the mastery tracks that you level up as you engage with various content. The one part of this that is good and bad, and in a game like Guild Wars 2, I think I would have much more positive feelings with it.
yeah.
Is that oftentimes there is an unpaid and a paid tier. So for the unpaid tier, typically you'll work through and you'll get whatever cosmetics, whatever kind of additional items that they'll give you, because oftentimes they give you just some like convenience items, you know, experience boosters, those sorts of things. And then you have whatever the sort of more mainstay larger ones are at certain milestones, like an emote or a special cosmetic or stuff like that. But oftentimes the best and nicest stuff comes from the paid version of the Battle Pass, where you pay, you know, 5 to 15. I don't know what generally the range of
It's
rates
about
are.
10
but like,
bucks is standard for like some BRs, but like New World actually charged I think about $15 for them. So you're right, like it's about 10 to 20 bucks, something like that. Overwatch has got one as well now, which is new.
So for every season that turns over, so theoretically in this case, if they were running it based off of the expansion cycle, so each year, in addition to paying for the expansion, you would also then pay $10 to $20 to unlock the paid version of the Battle Pass, which would then give you the additional cosmetics and things to work towards. Now, some of the problems that some games have run into include, well, what if I pay for it, but then I don't have the time to unlock the special things I paid for? Because you have to put in so much time playing the game in order to achieve those things. That can be a big issue for players. Some games have kind of put a thing in where, well, if you unlocked that, you can still, even in the next season, work towards unlocking things you wanted to in the previous season, or, you know, there's different ways people have gotten around it, but oftentimes it's just kind of like, well, you're out of luck if you don't earn the rewards that you paid to try to earn. But it's also something where if you're charging people for an expansion, like Diablo, a lot of people are kind of discovering now with Diablo 4 that they're going to have battle passes for the first time in the game. And then with also this ARPG seasonal reset and having to make new characters and other things that happens with it, in order to get all the levels of the battle pass, let alone having just paid $70 for the full game, you'll now have to get a paid tier if you want all the rewards. And then you have to sink in massive hours to level your character from scratch all the way up to obtain all those rewards. So it's an interesting system because on one hand, it can work great, like Jeb was saying, and it can really incentivize you to play. It can incentivize you and friends to work towards goals together. It can give you an actual charted timeline of achievement within a game, which can be a huge benefit. And in a game like Guild Wars 2, I actually think it's pretty good because like the idea being that if they need to earn more revenue, we have always talked about an optional sub, and this would kind of operate that way.
So the rewards in it, what would you? Would they just be the things that would normally be in the gem store, or what?
Well, I think we oftentimes have skins that are exclusive to the loot boxes and Black Lion chests.
So you're thinking those kind
I
of
think
things.
elements of those exclusive items. I think there's a siren going by.
I think-
don't know.
Yeah, go on, you're fine. You're audible.
But
good.
yes, I think that some of those more exclusive cosmetics could be filtered out of the RNG-based loot boxes and into something like a reward track or a battle pass, whichever language you want to use to make it yourself a little bit more comfortable talking about this system. But on top of that, we have other things within the gem store like equipment expansions, build tabs, account build tabs, transmutation charges, the litany of other gem store items that you could filter into a battle pass system in those smaller milestones to just help, gain a sense of reward while playing the game, even for a free version. And then maybe those more exclusive rewards for, say, like a quote-unquote paid version of a Guild Wars 2 Battle Pass would be like one of those 2,000 gem mount skins or those armor sets that are a little bit more expensive that you can only purchase in a gem store, or an outfit, something that is a bit more of a spectacle, to kind of have that as the capstone, final reward.
That's a good point, Criff, because if you've played, I have my issues with Blizzard, but I play games with clients and I let them select the game. One of them is Overwatch. It's free. It's really good for team building. But they have a battle pass, and actually New World do this as well, where it's very themed around the story, and which is fantastic. But even in Overwatch, they've got a theme. What is it, like knights and fae, and stuff at the moment, and the skins are really good. And in New World as well, there was this very fire-oriented season that's going on as well, where there's a new dungeon that came in, which was all about, forging and that kind of stuff. And the skins were very fire-oriented, amber, all this kind of glowing armor and different things. So you could base it around a season pass around the season that we're in at the moment. The
expansion.
The expansion, the quarterly updates that they put out. 3 months to do a battle pass is fairly standard in the industry as well, in gaming. And Guild Wars 2, they can do it so they can make it as easy or hard as you want. It's Guild Wars 2, they'll make it pretty casual and easy. You can do so much in Guild Wars 2 just by running around. I doubt they would make it too difficult. I think New Worlds is too difficult. But again, you can also do a battle pass as standard the whole way. And if you don't pay, you still get the completion, but you don't get the paid tier. So when you pay the money, that's when you get the extra stuff. So that's what I would say to do if you ever play battle pass systems in the games you're worried that you're not going to complete it. Don't pay for it. Just complete the free tiers. Pay for it when you've gotten the skin. Pay for it whenever, and then get the skins you want. That is the best way to do it, to save money, to make sure you're doing it. Think about these things. It's important. That's a good option. It's a really good thing. I think that was Fortnite who introduced the whole system originally, maybe, funnily enough. And the free track was there as well. It's actually a good idea.
One thing when I think about End of Dragons, right? And the amazing gem store stuff we've had that's come out that's been Canthan themed since then, the various mount skins, the outfits, all the different cosmetics. Like, if I'd been given an option at the end of the expansion where it was like, yeah, all these things will be purchasable through the gem store, so if you want to just pick up one, you can. Or if you paid for this battle pass, you unlock like the vast majority of those over the course of the battle pass. I probably would have grabbed that battle pass. You kidding me?
Yeah.
I grabbed it. I played it.
And
And you get all that stuff as a part of that season.
Exactly.
Like,
Especially at the price point of Guild Wars 2's expansions, and as they've said with this new system, they're even reducing the price a little bit. I think the community, or I would hope that a community reaction to a battle pass wouldn't be as terrible as opposed to another game like Diablo 4 where it's at $70 and then this added system of cosmetics, where oftentimes time is a big factor. I think I would be a little bit more accepting of that from Guild Wars 2. And another element that we know that kind of Guild Wars 2 champions itself on is being an innovator in the realm of MMOs. And I think ArenaNet knows that Guild Wars 2 is a very casual game. If they did go the route of, if you happen to purchase this battle pass for Guild Wars 2, that you could work on it at any time, regardless of if it is already passed or not. If it's more of a more permanent reward track feature, I think that would be very user-friendly, player-friendly, focusing on the player themselves and, the money that they've spent, and not just taking it away from them because, the month is up. I think that would be really, really cool.
They love
if that ever
evergreen
happens.
content. No, I agree 100%. They love evergreen content. They really do.
I think this could be like such a win for them to just put this system in. Like the money potential for them, like with an expansion, then like a battle pass, like maybe after the first quarter, like I don't know, or just with the actual expansion itself, would keep people in the game for longer as well, because you wouldn't be able to complete everything quick.
The one caveat is,
Sure.
I think I've never. I'm a player who's never interacted with battle passes. Like I've seen them in games. I've been playing games that had them. I never buy a battle pass.
Yeah, you don't
I don't really like them, and I like the way the gem store kind of works now, just being able to pick what you want. I do see it as something that makes sense for people who like that kind of thing. I think that it could be good for the game in that respect. I think it's a clever way of bundling rewards that people might not necessarily want to purchase from the gem store in with a reward that's something that people might want to purchase for more money than you would otherwise. So it, economically it makes sense for the game. I just, it's not for me.
That's fair.
Even aside from economics, I think a battle pass system, depending on how it's integrated, could breathe a little bit more life into Guild Wars 2 because of these free versions of the battle pass. They could tie it into doing anything in Guild Wars 2, from completing dynamic events, meta events, gaining experience contributes to your free version of your battle pass, completing dailies, weeklies. They could add monthlies, doing PvP tournaments, playing in World versus World. They could tie a free battle pass into everything you do. Because right now in Guild Wars 2, like once you've reached max level, you don't get a whole lot of reward by leveling up or just doing random events, because you just get XP and that just gives you a spirit shard. But if I knew doing events and doing meta events would then lead me to say, I get like a shoulder skin from this tier of the free, I'd be like, I would feel maybe a little bit more like
It's themed around the
incentivized to
content
play
you're playing.
around in Guild Wars 2.
Absolutely.
So even aside from an economic standpoint, I think it would probably make the free-to-play version feel a little bit better. When I play battle passes that have a free version, or play games that have a free battle pass, it feels a little bit more rewarding.
I agree. I love battle passes. I really enjoy them. Like New World, literally, it is making me play that game. Like I said earlier, it is smashing. And like Smudgerman said, which is exactly what I said earlier. Reward tracks are basically a battle passes, but not as rewarding. Like you kind of have to do them for different reasons. But like. Yeah, I'm not going to hang on this for too much longer because I can. Because I love it. I love talking about these kinds of systems in games, and it's the fun kind of inviting way to give players rewards that aren't about power as well, so you can feel, and that's what
Or gambling.
or gambling, because exactly, that's the thing, that's really important. Honestly, they need to start really thinking about that, because those boxes, and which is why I don't think a lot of games, I think a lot of games started to distance themselves from that practice, because there are a lot of countries where you can't use those boxes, right? Isn't there, which country is it that doesn't use the Guild Wars 2 Black Lion chest? I can't remember. Is it Belgium or something? I can't remember. There is somewhere
Around there.
yeah,
It might have been Belgium.
it's something. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's or Germany, maybe. I can't remember.
Belgium.
Oh, it is Belgium. Oh, sick. I remembered that. Thank you, memory.
Big brain.
Yeah. But like, it's an important legal issue. It's an important, ethical issue as well, especially with gaming. But like, yeah, I mean, they could offer that. I think it would have to be unique. They could even chuck some Black Lion chests in there if you want to. Like, that's another option. You can get something really, really nice. I think that would be quite cool, honestly. Okay.
Honestly, for me, can I just say
Sure.
that, I mean, the best thing about what's at the moment in game, I'm crafting a load of legendaries, and that doesn't just mean that I'm stood at a crafting station. I'm going out, I'm doing treasure hunts, I'm playing different types of content. It's pushed me into PvP, it's pushed me into World v World, it's pushed me into doing higher tier fractals. I'm kind of pushing myself into content that I naturally shy away from because I'm a bit of an antisocial hermit. And
That's not
that
true.
has been great.
That's not true.
I am deeply antisocial.
You're not antisocial though. This is the kind of argument I have with parents actually. If you ever need an argument, I've got one for you. Especially if you're a kid and you're in your room and they think you're just being antisocial. We're not. It's 2023. We're being very social. You literally lead raids of people where you're talking to them, and you're on a podcast with 4 or 5 people now. You are very social and you are wonderful to talk to, and we like your face. So.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Cartoonish avatar.
Yes. Oh, no, you ruined it.
Particular.
That was like a really
Made it better.
wholesome moment. Oh, it made it better. It made it more
Yeah.
I
like
did make it better.
it wasn't. It's not rated
Yeah.
T for teen anymore though.
I mean, what I like about this the battle pass system that you're describing is the fact that it gets players into different content, because I have really had an amazing time as stressed and as challenging as it is to be a druid healer in tier 4 fractals,
Yeah.
especially Sunquake. Oh my fucking god. But it's amazing when you get it right, and it's amazing when your friends rally together and they take you by the hand and they go, this is what you've got to do, this is what you have to do, you stand here, you do this, we do that, and you learn the mechanics. And there's just something wonderful about being with your friends, trying different stuff, pushing your comfort zone and going into different types of content, because you never know. I have sworn off PvP for so long. Me and my 3 friends were in there the other night. We just smashed out 10 battles. It was hilarious and terrible
Absolutely.
and wonderful. And we even won a few. But it was, I never go in there, but it was just a great laugh. So if this kind of reward track system is introduced, as long as it gets players into trying different types of content, I think that it would be a win.
Fair, yeah.
I like that as a cap to the end of that discussion. That's good stuff. Sorry to hark on that for so long. It's just the new rewards thing really got me going, and it was just like it's not that way. Well, actually, it did.
No
To be honest,
shame.
I mean, it really did. I love.
Well, okay.
I love these kinds of systems which can be and talking about it. The systems which aren't healthy and which aren't good for for us as human beings in the world we live in, especially now. Okay, so I'm just going to continue with. There's one more paragraph I wanted to read. So in the following quarterly updates, we were talking about those. We'll add another open world map, additional story chapters, challenge modes for strike missions, a new fractal dungeon, and challenge mode for that fractal dungeon, new rewards and additions to new systems introduced in that expansion. New additions, okay. Once that expansion story is complete, the next expansion starts, which we know about. So we've got what did they say originally? New open world maps, 2, and then we get 1 more for each quarter. So we're getting 5 maps over the year. Is that right? technically?
2 and then 1 and then 1, and they didn't say how many expansion updates they have after the first drop of the expansion. So could it be either based on the math
It's
and
fine.
them saying it should be around a year? No, they said it's either 2 or 3. I think it's
yeah,
not.
they said 3
Yeah,
maps. I
3.
think 3.
Yeah.
Oh, it says 2 there, literally in the blog post. It says bringing with it 2 new open world maps.
Plus 2 plus what happens
No, it
afterwards.
says 2.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
But then it says
That's
1
neither.
per extra quarter.
Yeah,
That is
and we
the
don't.
first release in the expansion cycle you get to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we don't know how many new releases after the first drop there are.
It says there. I just read it. It literally says it.
It'll come with 1 new map, but the next update after that might not introduce a new map. It might expand the map. It might go back to another map.
Oh.
Jorah's Marsh's style, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually very similar to what happened in
that's
End of
confusing,
Dragons, where we got 1 new map for the quarter, and then the next update was just an I'm not going to say expansion. It was an
wasn't a
addition.
full- yeah, it was like
It
a
was an
small
addition
improvement.
of the map.
So wait, they say they add. What are you saying that they say? I said that they
read
don't
it.
know.
I mean,
I know.
the language doesn't seem
In the
because
following
if that's,
quarterly updates, they're adding a new map in each quarterly update, but they don't say how many new quarterly updates they'll
we'll
have.
add another
think-
open world map. That's what it says.
Yes, I don't believe that they're saying. I think the way you're reading it is perhaps not. I don't know. I think
I'm
it's
dyslexic
not.
as well, so there might be a problem.
No, I'm referring to boots. But
Oh, yeah.
it's not that in the following quarterly updates, with each update, you will get a new map.
Oh, they're
It is-
saying within there's going to be
There will
one
be
for
one
all
new
of them.
map within all of the.
Quarters after the initial.
And then after, yes, like over the course of those quarterly updates, there will be 1 more map that is introduced.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's why we got. the
Hopefully we
5
get
from-
a giant map.
Wow, yeah. I
would be
was
great.
overestimating. Okay.
I think you
Which
were
I don't
underestimating.
mind. I don't mind.
No,
'cause
I
it's
was
a
saying
very-
you're gonna get a new map for each new
Yeah.
thing after the original.
No, that's
drop
what
of
they're
the
saying.
expansion.
That's what
we
they're
have
saying.
so many maps.
No, they're not.
Not what
in this
they're saying.
game.
That's
No,
not what they're
what?
saying. They're saying.
That's
Wow.
I read that
Y'all,
as though.
we're gonna boil it. Rook and I will boil it down for
We
y'all.
got
Chat,
it.
chat.
I'm
Here
so
we go.
confused.
Okay, expansion, 2 maps.
Yeah.
We're just gonna talk about open world PvE. Expansion,
Yeah.
2 maps. Quarterly updates. Throughout all the quarterly updates that we will receive, 1 map.
1 map. We will add another singular.
Oh, that's
open
really.
world
That's
map.
just
Yeah.
That's not well written. Then I don't like it.
Well, we got it.
I mean,
Well,
that
half of us-
nugget.
but
You
the
hooked
thing
that
is-
nugget.
But like 50% of like not. I'm not sure how Fornex feels, but 2 people did it, which is
Fornex?
like. You know.
Fornex?
Chat, what do you
Be the
think?
tiebreaker.
I think it's true. I think it's 1 map now. That's
I mean,
my...
I think you're probably
I just
right.
think
It's not a
they
lot,
would have
though.
phrased it in the following quarterly updates. We'll add an open world map with each, or something, or
Yeah.
we'll add
True.
multiple maps, or we'll
True,
add.
true, true.
It's so again, it's not to say that there isn't ambiguity there, because I completely agree there is, and I think that part of the ambiguity is that we are once again, as much as I love Guild Wars 2, relying on a dense hunk of text in a blog post to communicate and sell the community on an entirely new expansion format. Like,
Yeah.
if
Can
this
someone
had
turn
been
that into a
something-
song? Like someone turn that into a song, put it in a tune. I don't care. Like we need this.
Balzac.
If we had had like a video presentation of this where it says, again, we're introducing you to the future of Guild Wars 2. This is how our expansions will look from here on out. And they had slideshows and bullet points, and they were going through all of this, and they were like, so, that means that in the following quarterly updates, yes, you'll have 1 open world map to look forward to, but look at everything else that we're giving you. We're bringing in challenge modes for strike missions. We're bringing in a new Fractal dungeon regularly. You had to wait 3 years for the last one, and now you'll get one every year. We're bringing in
Absolutely.
additional challenge modes for that, new rewards and additions to systems. Think about like the Jadebot release, and now we can expand the unique systems that we introduce and even add more for those with growth and additional stuff.
Rook, can I ask you a question about Final Fantasy 14? Because I know New World does this. New World, if you've never checked out their communication with their community, it's the best MMORPG. They do it the best. They've literally got blog posts, and they've literally got dev updates nearly every week about systems, questions from the community they answer with developers, with the game director as well, and with people from systems. Do they do that in Final Fantasy 14 that much? I don't know. I know they have a letter that they comes out every so often, and I know people really group around that. I don't know if there's any other MMO RPGs where like they do that really well. I know New World does. I know I harp on New World a lot, but like there's a lot that's bad and wrong about that game. Believe me, in my community, you know this. But like they have started to really do these things very well, whereas Guild Wars 2 is still like locked in the late 90s, like in this respect.
It's not as common. It's not as common for things to be as proactive. I mean, in 14, I think 14 is one of the more proactive communicating MMO teams. We do have the live letters, which happen usually for any major patch release, where literally Yoshida-san and somebody else sit down and they go over every single thing that you can expect. They play a trailer, they talk about all the new stuff coming in, all that kind of things. They do have active social media. They do their own equivalent of patch notes, blog posts kind of things. And sometimes they will release like smaller, more sporadic videos. But those live broadcasts are usually so comprehensive and so long.
Really?
Perhaps one of their biggest hurdles being the fact that they don't always actively translate everything from Japanese. So, like, there are some major events that you see, like the fan fests and things like that, because that's also a big part of our news cycle and information cycles. True. Every time we're waiting for a new expansion, we have 3 international fan fests that deliver massive amounts of information to the communities, in addition to a media tour where press outlets and content creators are brought in and do a ton of other coverage, release interviews. So we do see a lot of like interviews, information, and other stuff coming out in between. But those broadcasts are like the big major anchors. Some of them are live translated to English or other languages, but the vast majority of them are just done in Japanese, which leaves the community to translate. So it's tough because not every company will take this much of a proactive response. I think New World had a lot of good faith to rebuild with the community after the disastrous launch of the game.
It's a good driver, right?
Yeah. So
it really, but it's good that it did that. Like, you know, it's really good. Like, I actually know, like, you feel like you know the devs as well a little bit more and the passion they have for the game. And we know that about the Guild Wars 2 devs. We see them speaking about it on Twitter. And you're right, like that in-depth blog post, it's forgettable. It is. There's nothing in there that gives you an image, that doesn't give you the curiosity. I mean, it does give us the curiosity because we're talking about it, but like, you know, it's too broad. There isn't really those things we can click with. Give us a little bit of a teaser trailer. Give us a little bit more information about what like combat things. Give us some hype. You know, give us like some like, you know, do you know what I mean? Like,
and looking at other companies, whenever there is a major shift in the way that they are producing and releasing content, there usually is some type of dev chat where it'll be like a video on their YouTube and or other social medias, or for like 30 minutes or however long it takes, they'll kind of lead the way through of all of the changes, from like how long of a wait time are we expecting, the type of content that we're going to be expecting, the shakeups with combat or any type of gameplay feature that they're looking to work on. And especially with this, it's just so text heavy, which I don't mind personally, because I do like to sit down and read almost all of it. But I think for this one in particular, it would have been nice. And I hope leading up to the expansion and even the quarterly releases, we will have some of these more, pre-recorded video type
we still
media.
have like a full 2 months, right? Before...
Yeah, we still got time. We still got time.
We got time.
We definitely got time.
I mean, there have been a lot of good things like the patch streams and stuff like that. Like, again, we've talked about in the past that the way that they communicate even some of the information in those, or how they lead conversation, can, I think, be more effective for players. But we have seen them, I think, try to expand more to formats. We've just had another period of silence here when we've had some really big changes and massive unique things on the horizon, and now this expansion. So they really were, I think, pushing themselves leading up to End of Dragons, and we got some good content, even as we, said, okay, sure, there's still room for various improvements in a lot of this. But like, yeah, I mean, they have to start soon. because the expansion
Yeah.
starts summer. So like there has to be something coming up. It's gonna be really
Yeah.
strange if there's not.
I'm hopeful after this Fractal release that we will start to, because this is kind of the last thing for End of Dragons. I hope after this, soon after,
Oh,
we'll
yeah,
start to kind of
absolutely. It should
shift more directly into news and releasing information about what is to come.
We've got balance next week as well. That's it, right? But so just for a reference, and again, you know, I like showing examples from other games because I think, and I'm not trying to crap on the like arenas like parade or anything. I don't think they're awful. Like hopefully that's heard well. I have a lot of love for this game, and I wouldn't produce content or have been involved as much as I am and as much as we all are in it if we didn't. A lot of respect, which is critical. And we want to share this with people. But as an example, on like New World's YouTube channel, they've got this show called like Forged in Eternum. Like they've got PvP sections. They've like 4 days ago they had like a whole dev video just about their new raid, which is they're actually inducing raid groups and their first raid boss, which they're having, which is like instant. Then they're talking about the new seasons coming up, some of the art, loads of stuff. And it's just cool information that is just kind of cool to see.
This is the type of content, though, that I think could be a little dangerous when it becomes too frequent. I think there's a fine balance between
possibly
allowing the information to breathe and creating more new content around it, because just seeing the day it's a little bit different, but just seeing the days of upload 4, 11, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's very short, where it's almost acting like it's its own social media content creator, but it's a brand, it's a company, and sometimes you don't want to have so much to where it becomes a bit too much and you don't even know when you should watch a video. When we see a live stream or a dev chat for Guild Wars 2,
tried it for a while.
I like
it
these,
did for a little
though.
bit, and I don't know. I mean, we can
love
like
these.
We
it.
had guild chat. We had guild chat back in the day. That was leading
Guild
up to
chat.
Heart of
Yeah, it
Thorns.
was
It
nearly
nice.
like every other week.
But that was
probably.
leading up into an expansion. I'm
It
not sure
was.
with New World
True.
if
But
it's leading up to
technically,
anything.
hey,
Yeah, it
Crew,
is, every
technically,
season,
with the new expansion format, it'll always be leading up to a new expansion.
That's true. That's
Well, this
true.
is the
But
thing. This is the
there
content.
still will
yeah.
be there still will be some more spacing, because if I were to look at a channel like this, I wouldn't really know what is the big item to click on because it's so frequent.
Right. So homepage, there you go. You've got like the latest updates, and then you've got like the official dev blogs, then you've got the Forged in Eternum, which is a specific show, and then you've got like shorts, and then you've got the history touring Eternum, then they've got like, you know, PvP 101, PvE 101, loads of guides down the bottom, which probably should be up top more. Then so it's all like, it's not just that page. Was a little bit unfair for me to show that. But like each one of these individual shows is a very different topic. And then they've got like, you know, so they do a lot of lore shows as well. They've done one specifically on the raid. I actually really love this. Like I literally, like every week I'm like, oh, when's the next one coming? Because I love them just hearing about that's what I like to hear, the passion for the game and what they're creating, because that gets me involved in the game. It's just a personal thing, right? I mean, Kroof might not enjoy that as much as I do, and that's fair. But like, I think what we can agree,
More so from just a strategy perspective.
that's fair.
I wouldn't want ArenaNet to do this
I would.
at this frequency. At
I
this frequency.
definitely would.
Because then I'm just worried, because I don't think it would read well to a larger community, if that makes sense. I think what Final Fantasy does, when I see Final Fantasy updates, I know they're big, and I know there's going to be a good quantity and quality within it. So I think maybe that cadence might be a little bit better. It's a very delicate balance of like,
It's just an
when
opinion,
to pump
isn't
out.
it? Well, that's it. Yeah, I mean, we just enjoy different things and the information about the games we play, and I just like constant information. Helps on my breaks as well.
I mean,
True, but so Smudgem in chat is talking about how Obzi is talking about how Bog Otter has been hired at ArenaNet as as part of marketing, right, with Ruby and stuff. And
he's in the marketing team, and something, whatever their names are. they call them that.
And one thing we know about Boggarder is that he is very comfortable doing that kind of a show, being in front of the microphone, being in front of everything. And maybe that's one of the things he'll be able to bring to the table.
Honestly, if he was involved in that, I would love it. I think that would be fantastic. Get him involved in interviewing devs. Like, just give it to me. Give me that content. I want to hear from them. When they've got those blog posts, when they talk about things like the World v World data and the post beta thing, they've got one out now. Why don't they just do a video? Just give us the information. Like, you can still give us the information. Like, just have a chat with them. You can edit it. They literally don't have to do it live. They can just do it as an edited video. You have talent in your studio to do that. Like,
they could have answered all our questions with a Q&A at the end of it. They have put this big blog post out, put all the information out there, open it up. Questions below. They pick the ones that they want, so it's all curated, so they don't have any wild cards in there. And
that's
then
it.
The people know. It's simple.
Instead, they go into some streamers' channels and they talk about brand new things that we all don't know about, and then it's on Reddit, and we're like, oh. That's cool. Sure, I'm a little bit salty that maybe that's not happened here, but I mean, it's just the truth. Let's get some more of that content. We talk about this every single time as well. I'm on the soapbox again. We are going to pretty much end it there, unless anyone wanted to talk more about strike missions. I think that's kind of obvious what that's coming there. There's nothing really, whether or not maybe we think about if it's going to be old strike missions or strike missions relevant to the story content going forward.
It's the new norm. It's going to be tied to the story, translated, and for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is there anything else there we could think about in terms of the expansions coming? Kriv mentioned a little bit about guild halls not really being something that could come. I was kind of happy about that. I think until they really investigate and develop that guild system more, they should just stop doing guild halls, because there's no point. It's just, we don't use them really for much at all.
There's a million different things that they could start adding in as features for expansions. And I mean, I think we've talked about a lot of them here before, anything from photo modes to instance housing to
God, don't hurt me. Don't bring it up, Brooke.
Any of those systems, because they are going to, especially without having new elite specs, they're going to have something to bring to the table that are big selling point features for different expansions. So I'm sure we could even theorize and talk more about that at some point. But I mean, I think overall we've hit all of the big bullet points of the general information we have so far, the expansion, the timeline, and the fact that, we're coming up. We have started summer officially, so we are in the season that this expansion is going to release.
Indeed. With your conversation, I was like, I feel like Rook needs to go. And then I looked at our chat and I was like, okay, that's fair. Well, we are going to end it, yeah. We're pretty much there. Just making sure I don't want to cut anyone off if they've got ideas or thoughts. Fornex, did you have anything that you wanted to add to this before we go?
Sleepy. I'm really sleepy. No,
sleepy.
I just hope that they give us. I hope that everyone gets a bit of a new expansion. I love World v World. Mm-hmm. And they haven't had a new map since Heart of Thorns. They haven't had any sort of TLC. And I know that the Alliance is coming up, and we could have a whole podcast on the Alliances and the mess that was team chats and the few problems that there were going forward with this current beta that ends basically today, right?
Yeah.
But I want them to try and kind of share the love. I think Dory has always been privileged. And I think there are other areas of the game that need some equal TLC. So I'm just hoping that there's a broad brush this time.
Very well put together. I like the way you said that. Good stuff. All right. Okay. Outro time. We're all happy. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today as well. Whether or not you've been listening live or you're here as an awesome, amazing guest and friend of ours. Happy Pride again to everyone who is... everyone should be thinking about it, honestly, in some way, shape or form. I think this is an important time, especially nowadays when there's so much going on in the world. Please support all the people. I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that as well. If you want to know more about that, come to my Twitter.
Yeah, you're supposed to give away a gem code.
Ooh, do
Okay.
a gem card giveaway.
Oh, can we do it maybe post chat? Have we got a mod in the chat that can do a cheeky giveaway for me?
I know. Spawn.
I think we've got a couple. I don't know if they
Radios
might have
too.
stepped away. But I want to. This is the live section. If you are watching this or listening to this elsewhere, there is not a gem code giveaway for you. I'm sorry, but it will entice
I'll
you.
just spell it out. Okay, it is
No,
6-2.
no, don't do that. Good lord, that'd be awful.
Hold on, let me log in real quick.
If you want to come and watch the show, maybe I'll chuck some other giveaways and stuff in there live as well, so that you can do that in the future. I don't have any. I don't think anyone's awake right now, so I
You
will.
can just mod me. Hold on.
Do I have to have a PlayStation to play Final Fantasy 16? Yeah.
I think you do now. Yeah.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just.
I was playing the demo. It's really good.
Looks good. Yeah.
Well,
I do want to play
if
it.
anyone
Apparently
would
it's
like
amazing.
to go to my Amazon wish list and buy me a PS5, it'd be great.
It reminds me a little bit of The Witcher 3.
Oh, the general feel of it. I'm just working out this giveaway. So while we're doing that, Kroof, tell us what you do, where you do it, and I'll do this giveaway.
Hi everyone, I like to sleep on my bed. Thanks for having me.
No.
I think that was flawless.
That's supposed to follow you.
What Griff does and where he does it.
You can find me on YouTube and also here on Twitch, sometimes on Omegle. Point blank period. We
Oh,
just like
God.
talk to strangers on Omegle. It's kind of fun.
I mean, that's a kind of
It's a-
chaotic energy I could see attributed to you, yes.
What's an omegle? Is that like a fruit?
It's like a chat room. It's a video chat room where you like
Oh, we'll
cycle
tell you
into
when you're older.
strangers.
It
Oh,
mix
yeah.
between like
Oh
a
dear.
watermelon and a
Yeah.
plum.
Exclamation mark ticket 1 in the chat so you can enter. Please enter the giveaway. You only need one and you all get one for free. So you can all enter in the chat if you want to enter now for gem code. Phonex, what do you do? Where you do it?
Hey, hey, I'm Phonax. I don't know a lot of things on the internet apparently, but I make YouTube
You know many
videos.
things in the world of Tyria.
Everybody, look out for Swan Lake.
Is that your outro? You get a
That means
chance
that
to rejig
that
it.
means that Putin's lost power. So look out for Swan Lake. There you go. That's what's gonna happen.
Have you ever seen the Toei? Is that the name of the Japanese?
Oh god.
Toei. Have you ever seen the Toei version of Swan Lake from like the 80s?
No, is it amazing?
It's so good. I grew up on
I
it.
think I've seen that,
It's
yeah.
so slow. It's so slow and like calm and cute. It's very nice. I like it. It's really, yeah, it's dated, but it's very good.
Go and
That's it.
follow Fornex, the Crichton Herald, YouTube,
Thank
Twitch.
you. Go
do the
watch my
things.
World
Please
Be
go
World
and watch
video.
them all. Yeah, that
Yeah,
Baden
thank
video
you.
looks very good. I'm actually really looking forward to that while I do my laundry. Well, not that it takes that long, but I will not. Anyway, Rook, tell us your things. That's where we are
Hello,
now.
I'm Rook. It's me. You can find me on Twitter and
It's
YouTube.
me.
ROOKURI. You can also find me on Twitter at Rookery_. And when I was a kid, the word dingleberry made me laugh so hard I cried.
Boots, tell us what you do, where you do it. Giveaway going stream, exclamation mark ticket. Literally, only one person has done it, and they will just win. So, I don't care because I can't need to go to the bathroom as well. So I'm trying to win this show.
No, but
Like, I
what
really
is
need
a
to pee.
dingleberry? What is a dingleberry? My
When you're
God.
older, when you're older.
When you're older, Fordex. Just think about turtles.
Find me at World Adventures on YouTube. I've been making adventure videos, and I recommend everybody in the last 4 days of Dragon Bash to go do the Pinata Smash adventure, because it is if you
I saw you get
20
29.
If you get
You
29 on
are
that,
a beast.
I'm impressed.
Boots is incredible at smashing.
I smash.
Oh God.
So his wife tells us.
Rook,
Yes.
that fell from your mouth. Honestly, you are the worst person on this podcast for that. I just can't take it anymore.
Dragon bashing, Jebro.
I bash dragons, obviously. I smash dragons.
I'm just
Yeah,
looking at your
bad
face
dragon.
now. I'm just looking at your
Just remember
face.
your safe word.
This is good smashing. Let Boot smash, I'm just saying.
New
Boots!
guides coming soon.
Oh wait, Boots, that was your outro. Sorry. Follow
I'm
Boots,
done,
World of
yeah.
Enders. He does Minecraft videos as well. Oh, I didn't pass.
Do
Sorry.
I?
No, in the past. I don't know.
Like 5,000 years.
He did. Yeah. When he was very small.
Once in an ancient, you can re-experience it by jumping into the Boots Minecraft Fractal. You go back.
I mean, I'd play that. I'd play the hell out of that. I'm just saying. Exclamation mark ticket in the chat if you do want to get that giveaway. If you do want to come in future to witness show live, make sure you come to twitch.tv/JebroUnity. The aim is to be alive by about 1 p.m. Pacific-ish. It normally isn't, but it's around that time, so you're welcome to come and hang out with us should you want to on a Friday. We'll be back next Friday. We'll be investigating the brand new Fractal, which is coming with Guild Wars 2 next week. Please check out the rest of the podcast episodes where we talk about all the things all the time. Thank you to my amazing, wonderful guests, and happy Pride to all our friends and community. And the music just went off, and it was very good. Very good outro until that happened. Obviously, we'll see you next time. Take care. Good night, good day, good afternoon, good evening. See you soon.